Welcome everyone to the TalkPoint podcast, episode number 4. We had been a full month already into the show, and it was a pretty wild week, huh? As that one week or one meme that I saw here and there. But yeah, there were some pretty sad news, some interesting news, some fun news that happened within the scene. Together with me, we have Creedy and Marcel Rostic returning for once again. Seems like Marcel slowly becoming a permanent host again, or one of the joiners.
The one and only special permanent guest.
But yeah, so we're gonna be touch upon some of the topics today. There was a bit of a sad news that one of the top APAC players has passed away. We're going to be touch upon a bit of coaching in Trackmania. This was a topic idea that actually popped up after the post show that we usually have. Where after the broadcast, there's like some kind of topic idea we randomly have, and this was it. Then we're going to be touching upon TM Awards and a bit of drama surrounding it, and what happened within the Trackmania World Tour, since it wasn't that hectic of a weekend, except
TMCL?
for TMCL and TMGL.
Hello.
I mean, there were no regionals in this weekend.
All right.
And but they will start with the second cycle starting next weekend, so those are going to be the main things that we'll be touching upon. And thank you, Kuda, for the raid as well. So the first things first, there was quite sad news. You saw a bunch of commemorations yesterday during TMGL as well. Is that one of the top players from APAC or from Indonesia as well, Gaming Boy 2508, sadly did pass away. Those were kind of news that I personally did not want to see. And since, let's just say, esports altogether is not that, let's just say, long of a industry, and especially since Trackmania scene, that doesn't really, happen often. And since it happened from one of the more volatile scenes within the game, the Asia Pacific, which is slowly just starting to climb and improve, and one of the top players, there was a saying that he usually said in the voice chats that he was going upstairs, and sadly he did go upstairs for the one last time. And so probably since Creedy and Marcel was not that familiar with Gaming Boy, but he was one of the best Indonesian players. He was the very first player from Asia who managed to, let's just say, break the top hundreds barrier in campaigns and also in trophy ranking a bit at the early on. And he was one of the first players who you can look at. Okay, that guy is the best in the region. And he was kind of the starting point of the scene, of course, and also one of the first people who actually helped kickstart the Asian Oceania community. And so that's why it's such a tough loss for the whole Trackmania community as well, because he wasn't just a good player. He was always greeting people when they joined the Asia's Discord, helping other people out if they had something. Even if you look up Gaming Boy in the main Trackmania Discord, you'll see him helping out a lot of people get in the game, help everything like that. So he wasn't just a good player. He was a very dedicated community person, also within the Indonesian scene and the Asian scene. So yeah, very massive shame. Very was nice to see that the TMGL players had the triagram. GMB, that was what he used when he started. He was doing a lot of name switching, so he was using as these VTuber names all the time. So if you search up Gaming Boy in Trackmania.io, you can't find him. But that was his. He had been doing this, but basically, it's basically a massive shame what has happened within the scene, and I really hope it's not something that we see in Trackmania scene anytime soon as well. Because, it's, let's just say, very unfortunate timing, because with the World Tour... Actually, what was a massive shame as well, what happened, is that one of the winning duo, Vobi, with Kuda Jinkrak and Spark, originally, there was the idea that Kuda will be playing with Gaming Boy and they in theory were the duo even before duo formats were a thing from APAC, and sadly he did decline this due to studies, but and kind of wanted to get in the groove of things when when his studies are over and everything, and then start again, start competing and everything like that. But sadly, that they did not came. And yeah, once again, hope he has fun upstairs, and he will be definitely missed. Since I personally played with a bunch of matchmaking with him, coached with him, and so for me, it was also quite a bit tough loss since I spoke with him, and he was the very first player from Asia who I also managed to speak with. So since most people, especially from European scene, weren't like that close contact with him, and I'm trying to help out all of the scenes all over the globe, like playing with them, getting more touch with them, and so this was something that definitely, let's just say, a bit ruined my weekend per se. Because sadly for me, this is the second time when a close person from Trackmania passes away. When I started off, this starting to turn into SRK podcast. I just realized Creedy and Marcel hasn't said anything
it's
so
a fair
far.
point. Like for us, Marcel is like we learned more about Gaming Boy when we read about all of the people's statements, whether it be Rezer, Kimi, all of the Asia scenes when they had their longer posts, and of course that they had the memorial event in game as well for
It was
Gaming
on
Boy.
the
So
Asio's Discord. There was like a very nice event this morning. I myself was part of it as well. Since I was managing his team a bit, I was coaching him, and I was playing with him, triple queuing, matchmaking, and just having fun within the game during the last few years. So I did say some a couple of words there as well within that memorial. It was very nice, actually. A lot of people really mentioned that it like he basically got a lot of people continue playing the game within the Asian scene, because he was like showing that this community is friendly, because he was helping out, greeting people, getting to know what people should do, who to look at, and yeah, so it's a massive loss, not only for Asian scene but the whole Trackmania scene as a whole, and yeah,
I mean,
so
the important part is, of course, for the scene. Like we touched upon it when we were doing a watch party of TMGL as well. That from my point is like, of course, there is a low, but from a low you always have to reach higher as well. Like I feel like it's would be a nice service as well. Like the Asia scene carries on and makes the loss of Gaming Boy is something that drives them forward to push the Asia scene even forward, to give even more people a chance that unfortunately Gaming Boy missed. But I hope that Asia specific scene from that rises from the low ashes into a phoenix and gets even bigger than it is now. But for us, Marcel, of course, we read about it. I learned more about Gaming Boy as well. Like I know his name and I've seen him from time to time as well in game as well. But of course, we are not as close as you were to him as well. So it's very nice to hear it from your perspective as well, and reading everybody's tweets and all of the good things that they had to say about him was very heartwarming indeed.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, especially because their
Unfortunately,
family members also joined the Discord, and they are really loved like they were really appreciated the feedback that Trackmania community reacted to, like from the global scene and from the localized scene. It was quite heartwarming actually. But yeah, once again, rest in peace, Gaming Boy. You will definitely be missed. There's going to be still some. Actually, the next APAC regional will have a sub name. It will have the 2508 Cup. So it'll be called the APAC Regional 2508 Cup, because those were the numbers that he used in his username as a small, let's just say, tribute to him. And because he always was like top 4 player in AOTCs, which were kind of like the biggest third-party events in Asia Oceania region, and he was always top 4 in them. And that kind of just proves how the guy was not only like just a good person, but also a really good player. And yeah, it's a pretty rough weekend in that sense. And I think we'll probably slowly a bit go to a bit more positive news, and or kind of positive, I guess, is the Trackmania Awards. Trackmania Awards actually were taking part the last weekends as well. There was the fancy studio set up. I don't know if you saw it, and with the awards for winners. And there was a bit of a controversy because the way how the voting is done, and how it's there was like a massive difference on who won basically. I myself got nominated for community the person of the year. I did not wanted to like promote that I got nominated or everything like that. I just didn't feel good about doing that. For me, like a win is already like it's already was a win, and I was like so appreciated that the fact that I even got nominated. So that was like a win for me already, because I knew that it will be a massive popularity contest or like a massive swayer from the jury. And and this is where let's just say the issues a bit popped up.
That's where the roller coaster starts when you go onto the TM Awards website and dive or in the Trackmania.news website and look at the polls and the results. You see a bit of a sway as well, especially when you look at what the people voted, what the jury voted, and then you see there was like 3 key points, of course, that was made, like the popularity contest, as always. That's always what is mentioned with Trackmania Awards. Then you had the sway in the jury voting, and that a lot of the jury was French, and nothing to say, of course. It's always a meme, like the fouge and the oui oui, but you saw a lot of the cases where a lot of the French judges, most likely, of course, we don't know exactly who voted for who, but it looked a lot of the French votes. A lot of the French people who were in the nominations got a lot of jury votes, so there is a bit of a correlation there. So those are the 3 key points. A lot of people, and of course the classic TM Player award was probably the one that a lot of people had the biggest gripe with.
The
given
classic TM
the classic
Player,
nature of it, of course. Yeah, the Race Hans win. Nothing bad against Race Hans, but yeah.
I can bring some like insight as a person that actually was in the jury. I was in 7 categories out of 21. Some categories were affected by the jury votes, but there were actually 3 categories for the categories, and in some the jury votes were weighted, and in some community votes were actually more important. There were performance and creation categories in which jury votes were more important, and there were also community categories that community had 66% weighted votes. And there were also other categories that had 50-50, like event, round, and match of the year. But yes, so just to give some insight on how some of the categories worked, and definitely the classic player was in the performance, where jury did have more weighted 66% vote. So yeah.
Okay, maybe it's something that's to run through. So kind of ran through the categories to kind of have a rundown on what were the categories and who won it. So the community person of the year was won by Miss. Who doesn't know Miss, she was the creator of Open Planet. One thing that was a bit brought up was that the fact that Open Planet was like created like years ago, and it's not like it pops up during this year. But I 100% agree. Like without Open Planet, man,
it's like it's very hard to imagine now. Imagine playing vanilla at the moment. Like it's I can't go back to without Open Planet now. It's like there's so many things
game
on Open
modes
Planet
and everything like that. But yeah, let's not since there's many categories, so I kind of want to speed through all of them.
We'll go quickly though.
So social creator was virtual. Video of the year, which was a bit of the controversial one, was the Mada's Defear World Records. Then
The
stream.
chatting, but it's only a replay, guys. Come on, it's just a replay of the one. How's it the video of the year? Blah blah blah. I mean, it's a video of the year. It isn't. That's why we have like a separate movie character. Like in my opinion, of course, you could say like Deep Fear was the achievement of the year as well. I feel like amount of work and effort Mara put into it. But I feel like just because what the backstory is of that video, I feel like it deserves that win. But of course, you had those people who were like, "But it's just a replay, man. What do you mean it's a video of the year?"
Anyway, we understood what your point is there. Okay, so then the streamer of the year, which was Spam. I feel like the one thing that popped up here was the fact that Bren got only 4% of popularity votes. Actually, he got 4.20. But he got massively elevated with the jury votes. Then there was Caster of the Year, which was Geek, won by Geek. Then there was Skin of the Year, which was won by Veritas Skin, by Anto Skins. Skinner of the Year was Anto Skins, so a double W there. Photographer of the Year, which was Tuta. He actually also had this thing where he had only 17%. Prof had the most votes, but he got massively elevated with the jury votes. Movie of the year was Trackmania World Tour Legends video by MCYC. Yeah, he won both in jury category by jury vote, and so that was like 100% up there.
Movie Maker the same, yeah.
Movie Maker as well, MCYC, with a pretty dominant fashion as well. Map of the year was Laputa Castle in the Sky. Personally, I don't know what map that was.
It's an RPG map. If I remember correctly, but the fact that what makes it insane is the fact that it's built by only one person. When you look at the map as well, it's absolutely insane. Like the amount of detail and work that must have gone into that is absolutely ridiculous. Like I cannot imagine building a map like that. It would take me my lifetime to build such a map. And it's insane how good it looks. Like that's a deserved one for sure. And there's so many videos of that map as well. Like a lot of people enjoyed it.
Okay, yeah. Anyway, next map. Next category was mapper. We have to jump it from map to mapper. I had to misspoke the word map, of course. But yeah, mapper of the year was won by Vixa, also winning jury vote and popularity vote. Creative project of the year, which one was also kinda,
the bingo addicts. Let's go. The jury also bingo addicts.
I mean, bingo is. I would say it was the best game mode from the year. Like honestly, did you play bingo? Like it was one of those game modes where you could, like it was just fun. Doesn't matter what kind of skill level you could adapt it with. What kind of auto time you set, and it was one of those game modes where you had the chance, even if you aren't that good of a player. If there's a random LOL map, you can just grind the LOL map and win for your team, and it was. From Project.
It was an all-encompassing. Like you take Deep Dip, like everybody tried it, but then only a few went till the end. Neo Cupra. Well, you were lucky if you had the FPS or to play it to begin with, but it got
one mentioned. I think to mention that Tona was in the jury vote, and they got one jury vote for Neo Cupra. So
I don't know how it works, by the way.
Huh?
I don't know how it works, by the way, but bingo, whatever game you have, if you add bingo to it, it becomes so much more like entertaining to watch and play sometimes. It's crazy.
Yeah, bingo is not the game mode, it's just the whole structure. Like, for example, how Spam did the discovery, for example, through bingo, like just this discovery, just like playing through the campaign became so much more entertaining and such a unique twist. It's like the bingo puts such a new twist to everything. Basically, there are people.
But
it's basically you can have a little competition, but it's fun.
I'm kind of talking also like beyond Trackmania itself, like any game you put bingo to it. Like Minecraft, there is the bingo lockout
Elden Ring bingo is now a link.
Yeah, like bingo races, for example, are always so fun to watch. And I don't know why it is like that, but it's crazy.
We even had the bingo invitational as well, like duo bingo. Like that was also cool.
One thing to mention, like when I was like back in the days when I was really into GTA speedrunning and stuff, like I was like doing GTA bingos. Those were fun, like collect 100 packages or like do X mission without a pistol, and then you kind of create them out. It's so fun as well. Even if my sister, I did like Minecraft bingos here and there as a thing we remember we played. So yeah, Bingo added to Trackmania, and the way how it was implemented, that it like automatically fills in the sheet, because in these other things in Minecraft, GTA, or whatever, like it's all like you have to put it in manually. So
Actually, Minecraft is automated now.
I mean, now with
But the other yes.
But yeah, I'm a bit like old person. I feel like if you say that.
But
no,
actually, what I'm waiting for Bingo when we are on this topic, because I think the most fun thing is like a team and team. Like there are only 2 teams and there is a lockout. So there are 25 and you have to reach 13 out of those like spaces. And if you get one, the other team cannot get it anymore.
Yeah, lockout.
Actually, I heard that
cool, yeah.
there will be an update for Bingo soon as well. So we'll see
what
happens
lockout
there.
Is there.
Imagine lockout Bingo. Then you have a 4-second map. Everybody's like, quick, and you're done. You cannot get a 4-second map.
Yeah, we'll see how that works out.
That'll be interesting.
If it happens. Okay, enough of the Bingo talk. We're on Trackmania Awards topic. Okay, so the event of the year, which personally I think was there were so many sick events during the year. Even just before the Baltic scene, I feel like if it was like the Baltic events were done like last year, that would be like event of the year kind of tiers, mainly because there weren't that many LANs happening. But yeah, the Baltic scene events that we had were like Comic-Con Baltics events, the Telia tournaments that were even broadcasted on Estonian TV. And they were like one of the better events where I was a part of, and Creedy also was a part, at least for 2 of them. And but yeah, there were such banger events. There was Trackadia, RT Gaming Experience, Trackmania 4 Hours, which was really cool, really successful 24-hour race as well. A cool community event and everything like that. And the win, like the Raider Cup, like it had to win. This was literally whenever, we'll see. A multi-million budget Trackmania tournament.
Yeah,
like
it's insane. Like 15,000 people in an arena as well. Like it's very hard to compete with Serrator.
And like the crowd control there, like
it's so dope.
The engine off block thing, that was crazy.
It's a clip of the year in my opinion. Like it's like.
Yeah, nothing.
It was so fun. And what was the important part? Since I'm like trying to I'm doing stuff in other games, and I think around that time I was doing some stuff around Rocket League or something like that, and there were people from the Rocket League scene who had never heard of Trackmania for the first time hearing about Trackmania due to this event. It's like because in the way how it was produced and presented with all the activities, presentation, setup, everything, it beated out all of the Rocket League events due to that year. And they were literally like, yo, look at what this game is doing. And like, we haven't heard of this game, and they're beating out. And like this kind of vibe was happening around this event.
Yeah.
And yeah, it felt like it definitely made some community eyes from other scenes to Trackmania with this, and I feel like this was the only event from this list which made it do so as well, because it made such big headlines and everything like that. So for me, the Raider Cup, I had to win this one, honestly. I can see why people saw, because like RT Gaming Experience was such a great incentive from Irik's side, such a cool idea as well.
It was a great story, but like
it had like
ZRT like shoulders above.
Yeah, and it had like a lot of youth incorporation as well, and it was a very good localized event for Norway, and it was a nice thing. But the reach of Serrator is untouchable.
But even was the funny part that Serrator was actually part of RT Gaming Experience as well. In the streamer tournament.
Because in the streamer event,
I think this show, and there was 24-hour race, really fun project. Trackadia, also a lot of people liked it and everything. But I feel like a lot of people really like Trackadia because it was like a LAN that happened outside of France finally as well, kind of vibe, I feel like.
The Germans,
yeah, so I felt like with that it kind of got elevated, because when I spoke with some of the people, they like preferred, like maybe like the presentation wasn't that good, let's say, for the Comic-Con event, but like the vibe and everything, some people prefer it there. And there was like, there was like here and there, mainly because, the CCB happened in, let's just say, not in such a popular place where Trackmania has the quantity of players. So I feel like they're a bit lost to that, but a lot of people enjoy. Anyways, it's a very good thing that we have these LANs in the first place, because last year there was like, you know, it was a bit iffy in that sense. And it's actually, since Trackmania Grand League was not present in this list, maybe this year it could also actually pop up as well.
We'll see.
Maybe.
So, because TMGL always has kind of not been appearing in the event of the year, mainly because of the formats or the dramas around it. But maybe this year could be the year it pops up there. Okay, wow, we discussed about event of the year so
2023
much.
is the year.
I mean, at least the basis, the way how it's structured, it has a potential, but we'll have to see, you know. Then match of the year was the TMGL 2020 Spring Final. With
easy.
the crazy round as well, and
I
with
don't
that
know.
also the rounds. For me personally, the match of the year was the ZRT Cup semifinal 2. Personally, because I'm such a Trackmania nerd, that for me that was the match of the year. But I did watch the Grammy experience. I did watch all the nominated ones. But for me, the ZRT was the match of the year, hands down.
We're cooking some rent here.
personally, I am so mad that quarterfinal number 3 didn't get as much love as I am giving it, because I feel like this was such a good match with Twin and Kappa and Aurel Papulo.
Which tournament? Which tournament?
ZRT.
ZRT.
Ah,
ZRT. It was one of
Quarterfinal
the
number
nominations.
3. Yeah. I can't believe that didn't get as much love as I thought it will. I thought it was such a great match, and it didn't.
I guess
it
you're
didn't
the guy
go,
who
but-
jury voted for it. Quaff, quaff.
Maybe.
Maybe.
My jury, this didn't really matter because it was 50-50 in this category, but yes, I did. I'm gonna own up to it. But yeah, ZRT quarterfinal number 3, personally my favorite.
It was up there as well, with the whole upsets and everything like that happening as well. But
it was so unpredictable.
Yeah. Anyway, TMGL 2022 Spring Final won that one. Round of the year also was from this match, with Mada winning over Cloud Junior, like winning the title with only 6,000ths of a second lead, and it won in a very dominant form, 66% in a category with 6 other members. So, and 3 jury votes
I can
as well.
vision it in my head around and with the commentary. If I just close my eyes, I can envision.
I swear, if we go to like 2030 and there's like awards for the decade or something like that, this is up there for sure.
Oh yeah, it's just such a iconic moment.
And now the XDD one, classic player of the year, won by Ray Sons. And I will just mute my mic and you can discuss.
I mean, yeah, it's. I mean, there is the only biggest discussion is if you know the classic scene. Is Meep got robbed? Man has been dominating Canyon Valley and TM2. It's insane. Raysan simply hasn't uploaded his folder replay, so I don't think he got like only 2 world records. Like he's been doing a lot of classic stuff, of course, where you had the TMNF Pingo releasing and stuff like that. But if we go based on like results and domination, Meeb should have won it with landslide, but you know, popularity content.
Yeah, this was one of the ones where, you know, you
that's
have
the only one where it was a bit of a bitter pill to swallow. I feel like.
I honestly like. I could have been a jury there, but I withdrawn because I actually have no idea about the classic TM scene. So, I just have nothing to put in the discussion. Really.
Yeah, classic TM is basically all games outside of TM 2020.
Yeah.
And the
I
reason
know, but
why
I just don't follow it.
Why me should have actually won it last year as well. I think there was also like a batchest vote winning, like something like Hefest or something like that one last year. I don't know. But basically, Meeb is literally a guy demolished the TM2 scene with he beat so many Canyon records, Lagoon records. I believe he did some stuff in Valley here and there as well. Like the guy went on an absolute tear of that game, and it's a bit of shame that it doesn't get acknowledged at all. I remember there was one day when there were like so many world records. I think there was a day, I think I made a video out of this as well. There was a day when there were like 20 world records beaten in the same day, and like 17 of them were from Phoebe, or like 10. Like 10, imagine beating one person beating 10 world records in a day on campaign maps, in campaign maps that are not seasonal, that are, you know, permanent. And he was doing that, basically, he was beating himself all over, and wait, that sounded out of context, bit weird. But
I mean, 2023 is the year. Like, maybe Meep gets it this one.
yeah, I will probably, I don't know, we'll have to contact Virtual to make a video out of him so he finally gets some votes.
He needs to, like, I mean, Meep deserves the recognition. Even I don't follow as much of classic TM anymore, but I occasionally see, of course, you had some Turbo STM 200s as well, but Meep was just, yeah. Even I, who don't follow that anymore, was just always seeing Meep just dominating. But, well, hopefully he carries on and just absolutely annihilates everybody again, and, you know?
Yeah, one
Maybe,
thing to mention is a bit of a shout out to other people. Other players were also like in the same category, where they were like setting some really crazy stuff with Fanta Killers and Summerly Flower and Suriname, who were kind of the unsung heroes in that sense. So yeah, a bit of shout outs to them. Then also kind of a bit of the, okay, I think this is one of the ones where there was a bit of bruh, but at the same time, I could understand this. Is the most improved player category, and Feed won it, but he was the lowest in the popularity contest, but he won due to jury votes. And
I will defend Feed, given where
I would say it's, yeah, if you were not following the LANs that were played during the year, like, I feel like you kind of missed out on what he did. And the guy basically went on a tear, and every single like highly competitive French LAN during the last year, he basically won. So
yeah, he won. Yeah.
and even
was
RT
against
Gaming
TMGL
players
as well.
Yeah.
Like, these weren't like random events. He won Trackmania. You had Granati and Elcon in it. But then you had GA Tech, which was Tween, Mavi, and Complex. And then you had also got. I'm drawing a blank. There was one. Oh, they had the French Effray Cup as well, which had the best of the best French as well, like the likes of Bren, Otak, even Bapu when he was playing. So I mean, man, if we take like a scale of improvement, man went just to the moon. I mean, my man Elcon improved like gradually and went to TMGL, but Feet just rocketed through everything. I feel.
I said it on the stream for Trackmania Awards, but there were couple definitions of like the most improved, and this category is of course in the performance categories where jury votes are weighted as 66%. Instead of the normal vote that is 33%. And this is exactly why that happens, because this is popularity contest in the end, and in performance categories like those, jury votes are, well, they are supposed to mean more than normal votes. And I'm not like, I don't remember really who I voted for. I either did for Feed or Elcon as a jury. I don't really remember, to be honest, at this point. But I think Feed's victory in this category is definitely deserved.
Yeah, I think feel like when these strength with these jury votes like became like as a thing, it was around the time when Virtual was really starting to pop off, and there was this or this was the either Riolu and Virtual, like basically both of them, where I think it was Riolu who won like 7 categories or something. I remember when he was like one of the trendy. He was like just before like Virtual started to pop off, and then Virtual started to pop off, and then like he was like acing so many of the awards, and so this was the part where like jury votes became, you know, so actually people who know what they're talking about kind of winning. So it's not like I think it was like Virtual was put in the classic TM Player of the Year or something like that, and he won it despite he had the least amount of achievements compared to everyone else, and that was kind of the limit there, and that's why the jury votes are there in the first place. So basically there isn't another like I almost said Riolu incident, but most people will think of the Riolu incident something else, but basically in TM Awards wise, so there isn't something like that once again. And That's why jury
I feel
votes are
like
important, but at the same time, I feel like there's not that many people who really want to be part of jury, dude. Actually, because I remember like last year, there were some people like really giving them all, and it was like their like impact wasn't that big. Like they, let's say, voted for a person, they gives like paragraphs of information why this guy. Anyone said just this, I like this guy better. It's like I know this guy, and they just voted, and that's why the other person won it, despite them giving a lot of like feedback and stuff like that, just due to lack of popularity.
I mean, the most improved player thing, I feel like, is the one vote where jury voted for the right person, like where it swayed the vote in the right direction overall. Like mine would have won it on the public vote, but I feel like he definitely deserved it, and those extra jury votes are well deserved, in my opinion. Probably the best jury pick out of all, in my opinion.
Okay,
By the way, I'm not gonna like leak like inner discussions of the jury, but I'm just gonna say that mine was a very last addition to the list, and he almost not made it. And I'm not gonna say like who were other people that could have been there, but it's like mine won it like mine could have won that through the popularity, but he almost like didn't make the list. So that is interesting.
I see.
All right. Now the next category is, I feel like that should definitely need a rename. It was the team of the year. I would personally would love to see that. Yeah, I don't know if you can hear it.
Meow.
Yeah, we can.
Also, meow. Get your mouth.
Yeah. But basically, anyway, it's the category Team of the Year. But I think it should be renamed as the Clan of the Year, because there's actually like organizations, jumping into Trackmania, and like the whole name gets a bit skewed here and there. Which was won by Shift, and like a lot of people, because it was called Team of the Year, many people were thinking like World Tour teams or TMGL orgs, but teams are a bit more. I feel like this is one of the words that are kind of a bit stuck from the older days when like teams were actually like clans, but since now there's actual orgs within the game and with more up-to-date esports structure, like the word team is like quite misused and a bit misleading with this kind of sense. So basically Clan of the Year. So
it was very tough, like in the jury discussions. It was also confusing. We didn't know exactly what were the like constraints around this, like what are the boundaries, and we really had to like ask Klaus for like triple confirmation on what we are actually discussing to be to be on the list.
Yeah,
so,
I feel
it
like
was very confusing.
I feel like it's a category that doesn't have any more emphasis on it, especially now where we have the World Tour as well. You have the regionals where you have teams with multiple variations, like Evo. Now you have Shift. There are a lot of teams that have now variations. So, I don't know. It's a category that I understand why it exists, but I feel like now with the nature of it, I don't know. It needs either a revamp or. I don't know. Because now if we're gonna go to the team of the year, it's gonna be the team of the World Tour, basically, like who had the biggest pop off in World Tour.
Yeah, and it's also a bit like hard to compare because, for example, there are like actual like clans who just do like, I don't know, full speed. They just clans who just do tech. There's just some teams who just do World Tour stuff or mixed style or let their players play in solo events. Like for example, I am in team 300. Like, what would you classify it as? Like, so it's like just like I would say a bit of the a category that has been stuck from the older days, and I feel like this could be one of the ones that could potentially be removed. But instead, something that I would love to see is, since now it's like the region-based thingies are popping up, I would love to see like European Player of the Year, American Player of the Year, MEA Player, or something like that. I feel like that could be an interesting category to actually pump off, because then it's a bit more up to date. And so I feel like that could be one thing that could happen in the future. But yeah, then the next category, also a bit of, like where's the line kind of thing, is also one of the categories which has a bit of a misleading name in a sense, especially with the way how...
Amateur player.
Yeah, amateur player of the year.
So to summarize, like the definition for this, there's amateur player and the pro player category. Those are like the opposites of each other. And what we got as an explanation of what are those categories are the pro players are the TMGL players, players that have participated in TMGL during the year, and amateurs are just the players that weren't in TMGL during 2022.
I feel like a lot of people don't know what the term pro, semi-pro, or amateur even means, and I feel like most people with it, since this is one of the things where I feel like the old understanding of how things work gets skewed into modern era. Because back in the day, everyone called someone pro because it came from the MLG eras. Oh, those are like top guys. They're like pro and stuff, and it went to meaning like good players. And I feel like this could be the part where we should actually use the actual terminology, where a professional player or pro means when a player is actually paid or receives full-time salary for playing the game or doing stuff around the game. So for example, Virtual is like a pro content creator, or there's like actual like pro players like who actually get paid enough or earn enough to maintain actual living. Semi-pros or semi-pro content creators who like earn a partial some kind of income, so winning prize money, getting some light contracts here and there, so they have a bit of income. And amateur players, like just players who just play for fun or have no financial gains out of playing the games, of playing in some fun tournaments here and there. And I feel like this kind of definition should be a bit more standardized, because it's in other parts of the industry is like the actual terms used. And since Trackmania community is very new to esports ecosystem, and when they're being tossed these names as organization, semi-pro, pro, they just have completely different thoughts in their heads. And I feel like just getting used to these proper terms within the Trackmania scene could make it way less confusing for everyone. So there wouldn't be like these weird, what does amateur really mean, and that kind of stuff. And
yeah. I mean, to me, like you could have put Soldier on that list as well. Technically, he wasn't in TMGL at the time, and he was better than Vosan Mikotro because he directly qualified for TMGL. So I mean, it's sort of like a fine line category. Either it needs a better definition or a better name. So yeah, it's very hard to define what an amateur player is, because
I mean, they should have just write that, like not just non-TMGL player of the year or something like that.
Yeah, so yeah, something like that even. Yeah, that would even be better. Yeah.
But now the thing is that
I feel like that this is like the case, like the last case of that, because with the new format and new structures for next year, it will be probably more clear.
Yeah, the thing is, like, it's a bit confusing as well, because nowadays, there's slowly, like, some players in TMCL are getting, like are basically in that pro status without even being in TMGL. The same case is even in some regional scenes where there are some people who are already in this semi-pro status, without even being in TMCL, or even without playing some, like bigger events. Like for example, let's take Morioka as an example, right? The guy has more than 4 digits of winnings from just playing Baltic tournaments. The guy has earned more than some TMGL players. So it's like a bit.
It is what it is.
But
it's very hard to define that. But I mean, we'll see how it is for the next awards. But yeah. Given that definition, I would have put Morioka on that list as well. Yeah, earned a lot of money.
Yeah, like the public number is more than 4 digits, but probably at the back end it's even more. So Okay, and then the last category was Pro Player of the Year, which I feel like was quite straightforward.
Just to say, because you didn't say, Feed won the amateur of the year. So that's the thing.
It was a bit of a, because the opposing was Switch, Vossile, and Mikquattro were the other, with Switch actually getting second in that.
Due to one vote of the jury.
No, then the Pro Player of the Year was won by Carl Jr. I personally do agree, in my opinion, that the person who does win the World Championship when it was like solo based was the Player of the Year, because he literally won the most prestigious thing there is wanted to the game, because it's the hardest thing to win and the one that basically shows that you're the best at this game. So for me, it's kind of made it the correlation to be the same. It would be kind of funny if there was like the World Championship with no prize money, no organizations, then the like what would it really count as a pro player winning the world championship then? But the way how it is now, then yeah, Carl Jr. 100% deserved. He actually didn't won the public vote. The public vote was won by Mada, but he managed to win it due to jury vote. So there is something to note that there. But yeah,
I mean, yeah, but the of course Mada won the regular TMGL season, beating Carl Jr. But then I would still say like Carl Jr. got second in the TMGL season regular, and then he won the World Cup as well. Like it's very hard to argue against the man who is predominantly. Mime had a really good year as well. Of course, he was very close as well, but in the end, it matters who crosses the finish line first, no matter how close you are. But mine definitely was a good run for the money. But Carl Jr., the performance that he still had was undoubtedly the player of the year, in my opinion.
Well, it's also like a thing of how you interpret the category, as always, right? Because you can either like give it to the player that was actually the best, or you can like think of it in terms of which player has impressed you the most throughout the year. And this changes things a little, because for me, I think like, of course, I'm a little biased, but I feel like it was very impressive for a rookie year for Mime to do so much. Like he almost got world championship. Like he was one ice turn away that didn't go his way, and he would have had it. But yeah, it's the category interpretation. I interpret it a little bit differently than most people. I thought like who impressed you the most throughout the year, and as a rookie year, Mime, I feel like definitely impressed me the most out of all of these players. But
that's a fair shout, yeah. But I feel like then you would have to. I feel like when you could, then you would have a case to be played like. You sort of have now a parallel between a pro player, most improved player, most impressive player. So you have a bit of an overlap of different categories. So it's very hard to really put it there. But I feel like the pro player should be just named to the player of the year, like, or like just make it a joke, make it the code of the year, or I don't know, or something like that. I mean, like
I feel like this category with the new ecosystem will make sense. I feel like. Or not really make sense, but will become more of a discussion. Because previously, okay, we won the world championship, it's kind of obvious, but since now it's a duo system, it's kind of will spark more like who was the person who managed to pull, pull it.
Definitely.
Yeah, we don't really cannot. Well, technically, we can have a player of the year. So far, it's PAC running for it, but but technically, yeah, it's gonna be interesting because now every competition pretty much now is a duo format. So it's going to be interesting how they will solve that part, but we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, we'll see. Which is
2023 is the year.
Surely. Well, we'll see. Surely. We'll see. We saw that the Steam release, did not. I mean, it was. It went. It happened, and yeah, there were like the Steam page reviews got bombarded quite massively. Like
it's like there was it's mixed. I feel like is currently
it's sitting at mixed, and when I checked it,
66%.
And it's going down. Okay, it's 64 even now.
Is it really mostly just about the like subscription system, or is it like
it's mostly the subscription that is
of course, that it's done, to be honest.
Well, it's understandable. I feel like there could have been improvements of how it could have been displayed and informed as well, like the information about like disclaimer or like this is available with your starter access. Like there could have been more information. People will just say
there's so many people. There was this thing where it says free to play, so most people think it's free to play, but then they see you have to pay for this stuff, and I feel like that's the main thing because it wasn't really mentioned on the page and stuff like that. And whenever people on Steam, like keep in mind, like these are just like. Most people who just look out for what kind of game is they're not like so ingrained in the community kind of thing. They just want to play something when they see it's free to play. Okay, let me check it out. Paywalled. and of course they're gonna complain
Yeah.
immediately.
Yeah.
But a bit of the
mean,
same
technically,
that it's it's like so many people were literally just disliking because it's Ubisoft, and some people are disliking
Yeah.
because there was a launcher, and there were not that like I was like going through the negative reviews, and there were only like I went through like 50, and only one was like complaining about ICE, and like a genuine negative review kind of thing. Everything else was just complaining the fact it's Ubisoft launcher, or you get the paywall. Like most of the community, it makes sense, because Nadio wants a long-term game, and they are against microtransactions. So this is the best way or the best system. So it makes sense. But most people are not aware of such things, and are really against like these live service guide systems as well. But despite it's actually one of the better ones, and
Yeah. To
it
me,
is what
like,
it is.
I mean, people will forget the fact that with starter access, mind you, you get matchmaking, you get the campaign, which auto renews for you every 3 months. So in a year, you get 100 tracks, basically 100 tracks in a year. Yeah, and
can you go back to
TMNF
the
was
track?
free for all the time. TMNF was free all the time. It always had the same amount of tracks. So if you play TMNF for TMNF was 2008. Correct me if I'm wrong. So it's been now 15 years. So in that time, you're gonna get 1,500 tracks for free if you play for that long in TM 2020. 1,500. People need to get their ass out of their head and understand that there's a reason why it's a subscription model. Then it is understandable. The marketing, how it was presented, could have been better, and I understand the outrage in that regard. But it's 10 years for a standard access. You get all of the major content, and the fact that, in my opinion, first of all, you can just stop. You can play for a year, and maybe you have a year where you don't feel the game anymore. Go away, and then you play another $10 again. Like, it's one of the most lenient subscription models ever. Like, no game gives you that.
I
And
think
the amount of content they push out for the $10 a year is insane, and that is very undervalued in my opinion.
Yeah, but the problem is here that there's so many games that are switching to the free-to-play system, and a lot of people who are like a bit of who came from the TMNF. It's not that TMNF didn't have just a campaign. It actually had that you can join any server with the free version. There was a free zone, but there was way you can get around it. So basically, it was infinite access for Stadium, basically.
Technically,
I know it's technically, but there was
you
the
can
things,
technically get around the free starter access for Cup of the Day as well, cough cough, if you know the trick.
Okay.
There is a little bit of a trick when people with starter access.
Okay, let's rather not discuss this. Okay, yeah. That was
now the floodgates have opened.
Yeah, so the problem is what Banta to mention is that most people, especially for like esports accesses, for like esports titles or something. Oh, there's a perfect message. Kind of basically the same thing I wanted to mention is that for things like other games like League of Legends, Rocket League, you basically have like the top people who are the top spenders. They spend like 20, 10k each. That basically kind of funds the low depths. And since Trackmania scene isn't that big to actually, like let's imagine Trackmania goes suddenly free to play and there's microtransactions. So there are these skins, something like you can let's say buy, you can buy, I don't know, horn or something. Like what do you think would happen? I feel like it would be fine. It's like, oh, Trackmania goes free to play, this is dope. But the thing is, Trackmania scene is way too small for that to happen. And probably,
the numbers,
like the skins would probably just sell for the first month or something, but then the player base will slowly dip, and then there's no long-term stability then afterwards. Like the thing is with these other games is that they have such big player bases that's sustainable. And I feel like this is one of the things that Trackmania just it's too small to have that as an option. Maybe if Massive Copium or something like that, I don't know, console release does something like that, and player base actually becomes like really big or something, and they could actually then potentially switch. I don't know, that CSGO had like these Prime accounts or something like that where they did this change.
They do have,
Mhm.
yeah. They had
Yeah.
people who had the game bought before it went to free to play. They got the Prime account status. So yeah, that's the. I think a majority had it, but yeah, nowadays, yeah, of course, it's free to play. So there is a bit of a level and difference in matchmaking if you have a Prime or not as well. So
Okay,
I
so for
believe it
example,
still
there's like
exists.
a Prime like system for people who had like club access or standard access or whatever. Like it's. I mean, it's basically there's like bonuses if you had it or
Yeah.
during that period. And it switches like I feel like it was still like normal because it's like so like this kind of stuff has been so ingrained to be for free. I mean nowadays there's like people doing skinning commissions, even through like fast point side of things when we did like the community crowdfund through like skins and stuff. Like it gains something. Like we like could host like the fast point international for example like that with those, and it does
It's a
help a
slow
bit,
roller
but it's not
coaster, I
the
feel
thing
like,
is
yeah.
we had like I don't know if you're aware of the 80-20% principle, where basically the
Yeah.
20% of people contain of 80% of action. So in theory most people who want to buy the skins are already buying them and supporting the people, right? Because it does in most cases, it supports the creator directly, it supports like the tournament or the event. Like it's not like it's just I don't know, actually I don't know, like usually I support something.
I mean, we're going
But
into the territory of like with nowadays like creator codes, battle passes. We're going into that. I think there was also, correct me if I'm wrong, there was a bit of a chatting by an account that was Hillis. In this case, I don't know if it was an actual Hillis account, but there was a Reddit response to all of this as well by Hillis. I quote this. I don't know if it's his actual Reddit account because it was literally a really new account or something like that. But there was a case as well where Hillis wrote, and he mentioned as well, like if we are making a game in mind with microtransactions, then their focus is gonna be on microtransactions and stuff like that. And that goes with everything. If their focus is on getting like the skins and everything and the subscription model in overall. Oh, actually, I have it. Yeah, I can read it out loud
yeah,
real
sure,
quickly
shoot.
if it. So it's from an account Hillis10. Don't know if it's him. We'll take it as it is. What he mentions is, and this is to quote, our goal was to align the interest of player with our work. If you prefer us to work on super skin and sell skins, then it would lead the studio to focus on how to sell more skins, make more things in the game, and bring you to want them, etc. If you prefer new blocks, for example, or to think how to improve the game for the regular players to be happy to play maybe one more year, then I believe the proposed model is better because both interests are more aligned. All will not be perfectly aligned, also because it depends of everyone's taste, but that's the best match we found, and this is why there's three choices in that model. How many times I hesitated to make only one option, but at 10 it would decrease the ability to focus on some of the most expert requirements. 30 on raising the bar too much for people wanting to invest less in the game in between. It's good and bad on both sides. So you have the thinking behind. And by the way, I feel that many players really got it. It's really cool, and Steam launch is good. Okay, aged like fine wine. It would be better if more people would understand that sports games at $60 per year with additional transactions and incompatible multiplayer without UGC may also be under some critics if this model is it. But at one point, it's better to do what you think is right to do for the players and the people at the studio. End quote. So basically, Hillis's point of view is like they had to choose between one way or the other, and in their eyes, the subscription model is for the longevity is going to be a better outcome for the game,
Mm-hmm.
which I do have to agree, in my opinion, because they're going to get constantly funded for their development, and I feel like there's more motivation for them to continue the updating because we've had so many iterations of Trackmania now, and I feel like TM 2020 has probably the best chance to outlast all of them. That could be a big copium by me. I don't know, but
I mean,
I feel like given
I don't know if you
the,
probably
the
remember,
model,
like,
but yeah.
2 years ago or something, there was a bit of a, like, a lot of people were like memeing, but
Oh
I feel
yeah,
like that
when
was the
it came
truth.
at first out,
When
same thing.
Derek commented that they are basically having like a plan for like 10 years in advance or something like that, a lot of people were like commenting like copium or something.
Well, we are
But
3 years in, and it's
We'll see.
bigger than it's ever been.
I mean, yeah, but I mean, I could agree when like the system was announced first. It was a bit. I mean, I could like understand it right from the get go, but the fact that comparing to other games who also have like this live service model, I don't know if you're aware, but there's this Marvel game, which also had the live service model, and they basically the devs did not update anything. There were like no updates, tweaks, and everything like that, and the game got like it had like only 20 concurrent players or something like that, and they actually shut it down. And I mean, they did some tweaks and balances and stuff like that, but no actual proper content updates. But if you actually look at Trackmania, how it was released and how it looks like now, how it ran then, how it ran now, I feel like if you say, okay, I will give a bit of nostalgia, or at least partial nostalgia. Remember when the ghosts were 1 second delayed?
I remember when it's a lot of the things were bugged with watching replays. Like the game was very bugged, and a lot of these newcomers don't even know about the old acceleration penalty, man. That was probably the biggest thing of all.
I remember
man.
when early
I have
on,
vivid memories of that acceleration penalty. Oh, that's a aware moment.
I remember
Marcel doesn't know anything.
I don't know. I don't know
the
anything.
acceleration penalty, what you have now, and then what it was back then, you had literally where you hit a wall, you basically stopped in your tracks. That's how bad that acceleration penalty was.
Also, one thing to mention, from when the game started off, the spectating client was bugging out, which made literally not a single tournament no one wanted to host a tournament because you couldn't spectate it.
Yeah, the plugins weren't working. We didn't even have Open Planet, and like you had so many things that were missing from there, and you didn't have any way of like organizing tournaments and such as well. You didn't have Cup of the Day, of course. People forget when the game launched, you didn't have Cup of the Day. You had campaign, training, and online rooms.
Track of the Day. People hunted Track of the Days like crazy, actually.
Yeah, but that was a Track of the Day, but there was no Cup of the Day behind it. It was just a Track of the Day, and people were able to hunt it. But now we have like Cup of the Day, we have events, we have tools to run tournaments,
automatic competition
there's Open
tools.
Planet, all of it.
Yeah, and now the fact that there's like it's actually kind of crazy to see the evolvement of the game basically since it got released, and the fact that stuff has been actually added. I mean, as Thomas mentions in the chat, like we had even Royal. I mean, of course. I mean, not that many people, play. I mean, but it's nice that it's there. Like it shows that
it's there. Yeah, it's there. But that's basically it's there.
I mean, I actually played Royale for fun a couple of days ago, but it's like a thing you have to really play with someone, and
I mean, I played Royal a lot. Like I was at the top of the leaderboards when it first came out. I remember like fighting constantly with Giuliano and Lorenzius. Those were the top two at the time. But now you have like a new gen. But yeah, it sort of faded away because the maps. When I look at the Royal maps now, holy, it's way too dank. Like you had maps.
Yeah.
Again, it's a good comparison. Royal back then. And Royal now, it's turning slowly into a minor khaki event already.
Yeah, it's kind of ridiculous.
Really like,
welcome to TMGL.
Man, it's like.
Also, there's a funny memory I had with Royale in the alpha. I remember I was queuing Raw, but I was basically had to have someone who was queuing at the same time to actually find the match. So I was like queuing all the time to test out if it works and stuff. And I got a match, and I randomly ran into Massa. Like, because TMGL players did not
Must
have
unreal.
alt-tab access, and they had like something given for TMGL. They randomly got must. I was like laughing so hard when that happened.
But I feel like it's cool. Like, of course, we cannot, of course, hide the fact that the game has still issues, and I feel everybody
yeah.
knows of this, and we are aware of it.
Like, for
And we
example, in
cannot
the
forget that
TMGL,
part.
there was the server incident as well.
Yeah,
But
there is still a lot to be worked on, but where we started and where we are now, I feel like it's a major improvement. I'm sure Nadeo knows the issues as well. There's plenty of forums, Reddit threads. There's everything like fix this, fix that. I have a bug on this. Why I cannot do my bind on my PlayStation controller? Yada yada yada. There's a lot of things that needs to be fixed, but overall, it's more pros than there are cons. But of course, it's easier to point out the negatives than there is to point out the positives of the game, because the negatives impact you more than the positives.
yeah,
which,
people
of
will
course,
also
is
look at the
understandable.
negatives as well. I feel like it's a
Yeah,
good
it's
like.
understandable.
It's very nice to have this kind of retrospective, because like all the time, I don't know if you remember, like the early days, it was just massive hopium every single time. 2017 is gonna be the year, 2018 is gonna be the year, and everything like
It's
that.
still gonna be the year, man. It's still going.
I mean, it's looking
Still going.
upwards. Like, it's looking upwards.
Yeah.
Like, there's stuff that's looking forward to, and there's definitely way more positives happening than negative. I mean, there were negatives, but they're not like, based off the game. It's something that happens around the game. For example, the loss of the community member recently, one of the top players recently.
Yeah.
Like, there were some dramas here and there. But
We are growing. That's the thing that comes along with this. We're growing. More people notice the game. There are more voices that are expressing themselves, and it makes sense. So I see it still as a positive. The game is currently, of course, when you look at like Cup of the Day numbers, it is constant, and
it's stable.
when you look at it's stable. You have a consistent player base. Of course, we have the hopium of the console release early 2023. That could be tomorrow or April, for all we know. I would love for them to drop it on April 1st. That would be a nice meme. Probably not gonna be that, but yeah, I feel like we have a stable ground to grow off. We see that there's the passion of the game that always existed. It hasn't gone away. We've seen so many different events, so many people doing stuff. We have the podcast now live again. Like, people are talking about the game far out, far in between, and it's reaching more than just Trackmania, and it's going more and more into the eyes of other people as well, which is something that Trackmania in all of its years never really truly had, and we're just at the start of it, and everybody's learning how to handle it. It's Nadio, it's the long community that has been with it, and the new players who are finding out the game as well. So it's something that it's all new to us as well.
A bit of a weird segue is that one of the reasons why we did these podcasts was the world tour, and well, it did happen. What do you tell us?
We are hour in.
Oh, it's
still coaching topic.
Yeah, this is the thing I wanted to touch
segue,
upon. Okay, I'll speedrun through the results so you guys don't talk about Afian slowdown or something again for like 30 minutes. It's an example. Okay, Afian freestyle. Okay, sure, but so we don't discuss about something like that. But basically, so what happened was the very one-sided day. BDS 4-0'd Sinners, KC 4-2'd Big,
Challenger as well.
G1 4-1 Big, Solary 4-0'd Alliance. No, these guys too are modding because I'm speedrunning through the results. Wait for it. Challenger happened as well. Is that XLT? I got one of the rights. 4-3 BS Plus. OrgGP Numelash 4-2 Homnyotsun. Sprouts 4-1 Easy Dream. And Schweinheim Racing beat 4-2. And that's it with the last what happened. These guys thankfully didn't have a award. No, there's not. It's...
The Challenger is an own topic on its own, man. It's like you have Note 10 and stuff. You can throw it out the window basically, because volatile league of the year, man. We don't know who wins that. I have no clue.
Okay,
And
yeah.
Exalti shouldn't have won against PS Plus.
I mean, yeah, it was like their predictions were in the mud, so
It was
Don't
mud.
even tell me about that.
It's a clown show, man. We got everything wrong, man.
But to be honest, it just makes it more interesting for
Yeah,
the
true.
following weeks. Like, it will be very tough to like power rank this league from now on. You really don't know what's gonna happen.
Yeah, Challenger's easier cut for sure. Wait, not Challenger. Grand League is much
Grand
more
League.
easier cut.
yeah, like we actually thought this early on that it's gonna be the other way around. That the Grand League is gonna be the kinda, you know, we have no idea where everyone's goes. And Challenge, okay, this is gonna be the obvious. It's like it's other way around.
It's just I've already looked at the matchups for the next week, and I'm gonna be honest. There's maybe one match I can be certain of anymore. I have no fucking clue. Sorry for the language, but literally, I just it's insane. Like Challenger League is now the more exciting league to come. The only thing interesting for Grand League, I feel like, is who's gonna finish first. And who's gonna be the bottom? Who's gonna be the bottom with Sinners? Nobody in the world is gonna hope that Sinners is gonna save. I'm sorry, that's the harsh truth. But we'll see who's gonna be the second in the mud.
The main line is, will BDS get 7-0? Yes, they will. But that's just my opinion.
Oh no! Hold up! Wait, who do they have actually to end off? Okay, maybe you're right. Sorry, maybe you're right.
No. To be honest, I feel like they might lose one, but 7-0
well, they have
is
Alliance.
possible.
Yeah, they have Alliance, KC, and Big left. Yeah. I mean, you never know.
Surely you did not just jinx them, right?
Everything. Well, BDS is qualified for playoffs no matter what happens. Even if they lose, or even if they don't show up, they're in the playoffs.
I mean, it's still best to be top 2 seeds, because if you get top 2 seeds, you basically get top 3.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
That is true.
So if you basically get lower seed, you have to go through this lower gauntlet, basically. So
okay. The thing is, I have to like clarify. Will we be talking about the matches or not? Because I don't know now.
Because every single time we talk about the matches, you talk about like what did they pick, what are the standard deviations of their pick and bans, and you're like focusing on just like
give us at least Challenger,
who won the pick and
like,
ban more than they actually
Grand
how they
League,
played.
of course, was dead. Grand League was like a wash. Like that was complete wash. But the Challenger at least deserves recognition for who actually won, apart from Exalti. I'm sorry, I cannot get over. BS Plus had the biggest throw of the entire World Tour, in my opinion. That Aero Pipes should not have been a loss, but it was a loss. But yeah, I feel like at least Challenger deserves some recognitions because they had some of the wildest results we've seen based on the first Playday as well. So I think the biggest one was alternate attacks loss. That was probably the biggest one.
To basically summarize Challenger, both of these two guys got all 4 in their predictions. That's why they're saying Challenger is all over the place.
What it is? Did you honestly believe? Let me. I'm gonna hold you accountable here.
I'm gonna say one thing. The only prediction that we might have really like missed out on is the Sprout, because we probably could have predicted that they could have improved a lot. But other ones, I feel like it was a fair game.
Yeah, and so like alternate attacks crumbling like biscuits against Schweineheim. Org Numelop speeding probably among the 2 best players in the league. And then you have the BS Plus throw. Okay, that I feel like the BS Plus and Exalti was a bit of a coin toss, but given how it ended, it shouldn't have been. It shouldn't have been.
Okay, it's gonna be actually one event what I'm slowly starting to look forward to. I don't know if like how seriously the TMGL and TMCL players or teams will actually look forward to this. Is the All-Star. I really want to see how the matchups actually will happen. How the Sinners play against the top TMCL teams. And will actually the meme happen where Sinners lose to a regional team? But
I don't know. It's very hard to
Hmm.
put Sinners anywhere. Like Sinners is
I-
an interesting case because they've given good results. Like even the 4-0 like they got against BDS. Like first two maps were they should have taken those maps, but they're just missing that final thing, and you see it as well. As soon as they don't get even the 2-0 start against Solary looked very promising, but then again, those few maps, they're showing the promise, but the results just don't come, and
yeah.
it's just very
I
hard to watch.
I feel like the premise you set up as Arcade at the beginning of the season that Sinners are getting better as the season goes on with maps that have been played already and
yeah,
stuff like that. It is
Yeah.
definitely coming true, and I definitely think like even that 4-0 against BDS, they weren't helpless. They really were pushing on those maps, and well, BDS were coming out on top like in those situations, but
it
it
was
really could
kind of
have went
close,
either way.
except on back and forth. Everything else was
Yeah,
kind of close.
yeah,
Yeah.
And
yeah.
this was the thing that I actually didn't mention as wait, I'm like contradicting myself or contradicting myself. Basically, but yeah, this is a thing that I kind of did mention that Sinners, because this was the thing that I noticed about Kappa and Tween in the older games, or they were getting, or the older games, older events, whatever, is that they were as soon as the maps were appearing once again, they were starting to get better, a bit more used to it. And I feel like this is starting to show, but still, like, the gap is kind of like, the thing is, like, we discussed this with Greedy, that they're very good still on the techie maps, because both of them are tech players at heart. And as soon as you put something wacky in the middle of the map, like the dirt flips or like driving backwards or something like that, they're like not 100% comfortable with that. And it's especially on back and forth.
Their
I don't know
map
if you have
pool
played
is,
it, but there's basically, but it's not like, let's say, the identity. You have a bit of delay when the steering happens before to avoid the pipes. So that's a bit of a thing you kind of have to adapt. And I feel like some players are not really, used to that kind of situation, like especially playing backwards or something like that.
I mean, the backwards part, it technically it does in a way actually benefit keyboard players just because of the quick from 0 to 100 input. It is actually better to do those inputs better on keyboard because you have a gradual, of course, on a controller. So when you do it on a keyboard, the response is, of course, immediate. So it's actually better to do it on keyboard, but of course it's very hard, of course, when you have people who are faster than you, AK, Afi, and Aurel were really doing good stuff. But it's I keep saying it, and it keeps constantly happening. Sinner's map pool pinching is very difficult as well. Like people can easily ban. Like to me, I think the biggest missed opportunity for Sinners is at the moment that they should just go for it. Like take gyroscope. Just if they could have taken it against BDS. BDS looked really bad on it. Just try to gamble. They have to now because
Yeah.
of course it's 0-4, but you don't know what's gonna happen. There could be still some wacky results, and you could have like a tiebreaker in some way. Still, I don't know. I can't remember the tiebreaker rules out the top of my head, but you gotta go for a gamble. And I feel like the gyroscope gamble. I mean, you take the week and practice. You are good on the other maps. Sinners show promise on other maps. Even back and forth, it didn't go well. They went against BDS and they had the pace on all of the other maps. Just go for gyroscope. There was a good gamble. BDS didn't look comfortable on it, and even it's just not a map that BDS are comfortable on as well. But they still banned, and then they didn't even get to the
That
other
is
map. So
that is
it's
something
such.
that is something that I also wanted to say. Like they keep banning the gyroscope, and I feel like the back and forth was the really problematic map on that draft. When that came up, like they really didn't look that good on it. And it was a very bad thing to like leave that open against BDS because this is for sure their map. This is BDS map. Like this is Afi's map for sure. But when going what, and that is something that I wanted like to say, like just roll the dice on gyroscope, bound back and forth, something that is for sure not in your favor, and roll the dice on gyroscope. This is something
Yeah.
that you can do, and yeah, as you said, BDS didn't look as good on it as it might seem, and as they do on the other maps, of course. That's what I mean.
Yeah, like BDS has a perfect win ratio on back and
Yeah,
forth. They haven't lost a single time against
I've
Solarby, against ITB, and against
Mhm.
G1. They have
And I get
always
it
won on back
that
and
they
forth.
are. I get that they are permabanning this because maybe they're not practicing it that much. Maybe they're not practicing it at all. But I don't believe that they are probably practicing it that.
Yeah.
But that I feel like they can roll the dice on that, and maybe that will actually like come in clutch. I feel like this is something they have to take out of BIG's book, like surprise something. I feel like Big always has like a curveball in their draft. It was
Mm.
Ara Pipes at first, then this week it was Sleepy Slice. They just brought it out of nowhere and they were crushing on that. I feel like this is something they need to look into and really focus more on the draft itself, and sometimes risk that roll the dice on gyroscope or other map that you might not feel as comfortable on, but you know that the opponent also might not be as good.
Yeah.
Actually, a bit of weird segue into a topic when you mentioned about just focusing on the gameplay and not so much or missing out on these, let's just say, missed opportunities from pick and ban. When I was watching Masa doing a replay analysis, he said that we won the draft here or something, or we won the pick and ban, and I feel like this is a very nice segue into. Is it now the point where having like a person on the sides, somehow analyst or a coach within the, let's just say, around the team to help out, to pull, let's just say, dig up the stats? I don't know if you have seen Reddit. There's so many people like posting match stats from so many maps with the crazy. It's like such cool information to look at, and I'm starting to wonder. Maybe spam is maybe around this kind of role, but like bringing up
He
like
has
people
stated
from.
as well, yeah. He has stated it as well, yeah.
Okay, so basically, can I finish my thing? Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
So basically, is this like the perfect time, or to potentially start introducing coaches, strategists, analysts for the duos or for the teams to gain some kind of advantage? When I feel like most people think about coaching, there's like multiple types of coaching that happens. I myself have an education as a coach, but that's for sports, for fighting sports. But there are certain things that very well adapt to video games or esports because the way human body, mind is basically the same. And a lot of these players are just very good at playing the game. But let's say, for example, there like some people are very lacking how to approach the game, the situation efficiently, how to properly strategize, approach pick ends bans. Like this is like starting to become a bit too much information to handle. Like let's say, for example, some kind of duo A, duo B. Like these guys are the best at playing the game. But are they the best of strategizing, what's the outcome? What's the best way how to approach X match? And these are the spots I feel like a coach would properly fill in. I feel like this is the thing where one of these categories fill in is you have actually a coach as a person who teach you how to play the game, what helps you showcase which are the mechanics you're kind of lacking, what are the things, what to improve your consistency, pace on, whatever. So a performance coach, basically. Then you have the mental coach, a person who knows how to set up, how to properly get ready for the match so you have the peak performance in entering a match. Okay, here's a fancy term that some people you can use it, I don't know, for some crosswords or to sound very smart. There's a term called super compensation. There is a performance-based or muscular type of super compensation, which is basically metabolic, which is basically how muscles, how much do you train, and you basically have to do you can't overtrain it, otherwise you're in the mud. You basically digress in terms of progress, and you can't properly improve. And the same thing applies for mentality as well. If you let's just say basically the way how you in Trackmania is more of a mental thing. It's not so much, you kind of train muscles or whatever to play. However, the Trackmania community is a bit, on the muscular side.
The finger muscles, man. The fingers, like go on.
Yeah.
Got the finger muscles going.
But it's basically the way how you do your training process, so it's efficient. How it's to set up proper schedules, how to train and prepare for the matches efficiently as possible. Because these matches are happening just once a week, and how to get efficient practice in, how to get the right things, let's just say, ironed out. Like some of these things are, I feel like some things that could look into, because in theory, like how would a perfect match look like would be that every single person does like world record and everyone's consistent. We kind of have like an idea in theory what's the perfection, and try to aim for that in a match form. And I feel like coaches could potentially elevate this kind of thing. But these kind of people probably are some people who play Trackmania for fun kind of thing, but have this experience with coaching on the side, and do know how things actually do impact kind of things. But it's a thing that I feel like this is the thing that we talked about awards, that there's a lot of like things that most people, since like Trackmania scene is so far back, other scenes, that it feels a bit weird. Like, why would we have this kind of thing? Like, I know how to play the game, but there are a lot of things that, there's a good reason why these guys are the best at their job kind of thing, and they can fill in the spot kind of thing. The same thing with analysts, like to actually have this, use the time instead of like practicing, use the time to like analyze, figure out what's the most efficient type of pick and ban done during this part, and kind of do these pre-predictions on what could be the most efficient picks, what could be the maps that other team could practice more, and basically have a more efficient type of approach in terms of pick and bans as well. I don't know if you saw the TSCCs that were happening, like the English and Irish TM scene. They had some crazy they actually had like analysts for their team that did like statistics against every single team based off their match performances, peak paces, everything like that, and to get like an efficient outcome despite lacking on pace on maps. So they, as Masa says, wins the pick and ban or wins the draft. Because there are now like, there's the pick and ban phase and the actual gameplay parts. And if you win this parts, you have to have a bit of strategizing involved as well. And to win the pick and ban, or like basically outplay your other team in terms of to have a favorable, let's just say, the field you play on. But that's I feel like we'll see if that actually becomes a thing. And do you think that this kind of void could be filled out with such people that are in other esports but are a bit lacking currently within Trackmania?
I mean, go ahead, Marcel. We share the same idea, so you go ahead.
I mean, for sure, like coach role is at the moment, as rulebook says, mandatory. So I feel like this should be definitely filled. It's needed. But overall, if we're talking about like needed, is it really needed to be filled? Is just Trackmania in need of such role to be filled? I feel also is a point, because first of all, let's say Big as an example. I am not sure if they have a coach. I don't think they do, or at least someone that actually provides the analytics and like VOD reviews and like mental support and stuff like that. Because as Creedy said multiple times, Masa is the mastermind. He is kind of the guy that like plans all of that, plans the drafts. Like he analyzes the games, stuff like that. And I feel like, for example, this might be the reason that he might not have as much time for like improving his consistency. For example, that was plaguing his game last week, and this week maybe a little bit too. So that's one thing, for example, to like take some weight off of the players, take those numbers away from them, and maybe like relay it to them in a much simpler form, that they don't have to analyze themselves, they don't have to like spend their own time, that they can spend like improving their skill inside the game. So this is definitely something that is needed. We were talking about spam. he
I
I
think
had
he's the
interview
perfect
with.
example of what we have in TMGL at the moment. Like he's the perfect example what I think most teams currently would enjoy to have as well. Like so definitely because he basically I think he said it as well. Like he basically provides everything that the players need. Basically, players are there for the gameplay. Spam does everything in regards to do they need certain identity maps? Do they need certain things for the game? Like he tries to minimize the thought process for Mata and Soldier so they can focus on the training. I think Spam is like the perfect example of what a race manager or a coach would be perfect for now because there's nobody else better than the players in TMGL to coach. There's no other player that can tell them, "Oh, can you do a better slide here?" Those guys know what they are doing the best. So
Yeah,
there's
this is
no
the
way
thing
like
that
there's a
I said,
performance
like,
coach.
yeah, performance coaches, only thing is like the mental coaches or psychologic ones is that also what Markelli mentioned that, for example, since I'm a coach for fighting sports, like for me, before like any kind of fight is really important to, let's just say, puts the athletes in a specific mind before the moment they have to perform. So basically, they're that peak mental state, peak warm-up state as well. Since in Trackmania it's more of a mental thing because you're just pressing buttons and it's a bit of a more mental thing. There's a interesting thing where in things like chess there's so much mental. Imagine like a graph. So it's like it's how much physical and how much mental stress. So the more physical it is, the less mentality is, and it's like gets balances like that. And esports, that's why we're a bit more on the mental high rate basically. Probably Creedy and Marcel didn't saw the graphic of what kind of wanted to show, but basically it works like that. It's very balanced in the way how it works, and in, for example, fighting sports, since like a bit 50-50s to get that confidence up because you're actually fighting a person IRL. It's a bit different. So it's like 50-50 role. It's important to get people properly in. And for Trackmania, because it's like a pure mental game. Like you're not, having a physical toll. You're not physically tested properly. You're mentally tested. And I feel like with this kind of having a good mental coach, a good person that puts you in that correct wave or that preparation, so you're at the optimal peak performance entering a match, could be the most perfect thing. But here's the thing, since Trackmania is still developing, like, which is the moment where you see, okay, bringing that in, that kind of person is actually worth it, that it can bring a profit, in quotes. That's the kind of limit, because Trackmania is still like, it's like slowly climbing upwards, but it's starting to approach the phase where that could be potentially considered instead of just having a person who just creates practice maps or creates some kind of thing. You actually have a person who creates these optimal mental schedules, how to properly put them in the most efficient mental state before a match or before an important situation. I feel like we are not just there just yet. So I feel like coaches or like assistant personnel is only for like to create maps and set things up, or for like, I don't know, regional teams. I feel like is the best place to have a coaches in, because they're lacking some like minor adjustments to like gain that 0.7 that they're missing or something like that. But for mental coaches, I feel like TMGL or TMGL, TMCL, or top of World Tour altogether could slowly potentially have as an option. And if having a good mental coach on the side, I feel like could be that missing asset that could elevate teams like Sinners, for example. I feel like they know how to play the game. It's just that their mental is in the mud. Like start from the get-go. Look at the first match. Mental went in the mud. The foot furrow. And that same thing happened in the rest. Like all these players know how to play in the game. It's literally the main differences is how are you feeling that day? What are the differences around what's happening? Like the margins are so small in that sense. Like all of them know how to play the game. It's just like for actual performance result outcome, like these small things, like what's your feeling like? What's your mental state like? It's starting to impact the outcome, I feel like. And this could be the changing point then. So I feel like if a team has something like that, it can massively elevate their performance if there's a correct person there. There are some guys who have the, let's just say, passed the university but doesn't know what they're doing, kind of thing. If they have a person like that, then it's. But there's a person who might even not have, but is like perfect, has a lot of experience, know what they're talking about, and you put them in that field, then it can completely pull a full 180 in the their performance for the players.
Yeah, I mean it's a thing like with mental coach. I think it's also like part of the team. It's something like you have to consider as something that is important, that he meshes well with the players inside. Like you can be qualified, stuff like that, but I feel like there's something in there that
You have to have
has
the
to be.
synergy, yeah.
You have to be you have to have the synergy. Well, I feel like the other two aspects of coaching in Trackmania that are viable, which is like the practice overseer and stuff like that, and the analyst. You don't really need that. You don't really need that synergy because it's more.
It's
It's more of
factual.
a. It's factual, yeah. With mental, I think you need to have a tailored guy for this specific team, and that is way more difficult than it might seem.
Yeah, and to me, like I feel like the role of like the analyzing the matches is something that will become more and more, because once you get the mentality part as well, like mentality is very important, but then you start to look for minor advantages the further we go along, because it is like you have all of these great players, but the only difference now at the moment seems like the comfort, like the genuine, like you said, the comfort, the motivation, and determination to push forward as well. Like if I was a coach, like I'll take BDS for example. If any of my teams went against BDS, I would have banned back and forth every time. But no team has done it so far. Everybody's played against them on back and forth, and everybody has lost on them. I don't know, like there's little minor things that a lot of teams could pick up and make their life a lot more easier. But of course, we're just not in an environment where it's a practice. Like this is the first
Mm-hmm.
year where we have these things. People are exploring these things. Spam is a good like a good foundation for such a thing as well. He's an experienced player. He's been in that environment and he knows how to,
Yeah.
especially now after they had a major loss against Solary. Probably it's better to 4-0 against Solary than some other teams, but he knows how to be in that position, and he can probably help Soldier and Mada really bounce back from that as well. So you
Yeah.
have these little nuances that are gonna become even more and more important as the scene develops, as the duo format gets more ingrained, as more duos play together more. It becomes more of a case where you go into those finer details that start to
Mhm.
matter, for example.
I feel like Spam is at the moment like the only coach, like the only real coach in the like main leagues.
I wouldn't really
Uh,
say only the thing is when he had the previous mental coach, maybe he takes something from him and then passes
mhm.
along. Because I feel
Uh,
like main thing is he just notes down these like pick and bans and tries to figure out things like that. Like he just uses the factual environment instead of the
yeah,
mental one.
what I meant is like a person that actually is involved with players on this
Mm-hmm.
plane that really helps them and have a positive impact. I had an interview with Soldier and he like said that it is actually advantageous for them very much that they have spam with them. And I feel like many teams would benefit with having someone like spam. I don't know if there are like many players at the moment, like ex players, for example, at the moment that could fill that role. Maybe like Bergi, for example, or something like that. Uh, but I feel like many teams could really uh, benefit from having someone like that. I feel like having in ITB, for example, having someone like that to like temper the enthusiasm that the players have. I feel like that kind of sets their inconsistency off. Like you have to sometimes just like take it a little bit back and have someone to tell you that okay, you need to like you need to have the pace, but you need to have consistency, stuff like that. That actually tells the players what path to go on to actually improve instead of players just having to figure that on their own as it was the norm until today, for example.
Mm-hmm. So that is probably the one thing we will be seeing more and more of. And yeah, in some sense, I actually agree with SRK as well that the regional teams could benefit from this as well, because this is a big new environment for them as well. And in general in life, it's always good to have like a sort of like a in between opinion, sort of like a middleman or a third man to look upon
Advisor
it as well.
as well.
Yeah, so an advisor of some kind that you are in it, like you're in the match, you're playing, you're focused on as well, but somebody from the outside could be seeing some things that you in the moment won't be. Of course, that's why some people, of course, watch VODs and later on see some things, but it's always good to have a third opinion, and I feel like that is going to be something that a lot of teams are going to be looking more forward as the scene develops as well.
I feel like if there's like some people who are, let's say, weren't as lucky as a player, for example, but let's say if they try to help out, I don't know, let's take an example, some APAC duo or something like that, like trying to help them, like show the things that they are missing in their performance and actually be that performance assistance help to just show them, okay, you are doing this wrong, that's why you're losing 0.7 here consistently. Okay, if you do this line a bit differently, you'll basically crash it most of the times. Kind of this kind of thing. Actually, if I wasn't like helping and administrate a lot of the World Tour, I would actually be helping some of the smaller teams like this, because this is a thing I personally enjoy. When Min was around, for example, I was actually coaching a bit the guy, because he had the grind set, but he was doing it so efficiently because it was a bit frustrating to see from my POV. And there were so many things that he could have done efficiently in his gameplay, or the way how he approached the game that could elevate his gameplay. And we did a bit of tinkering. We did some sessions here and there, and boom, the guy was number 1 in ranked afterwards. And there are some things that, especially people who have the potential, but they don't properly have the environments or have this guide person, they're gonna be kind of stuck in this low tier. And especially with these opportunities, okay, let's say you don't really work out as a player, but now you can literally help out others who are, let's say, have more opportunity given, but are a bit lacking in the skill. You can use this knowledge, and then you can also build your brand around it, and be a part of the journey that way. And I feel like that's one of the things that could potentially pop up here and there. But since we're just at the starting block, basically, very interesting Trackmania reference accidentally said there. Yeah, since we're basically at this start of everything, like there's so many new things that can pop up with this start of this ecosystem. Like we saw like early org signings, but now if like some people, like, let's say, oh my goodness, I keep running into Milio Matus in round 2 or something constantly. It's like you can just pass this knowledge, pass this preparation to help some others who are given this opportunity more. And you can basically, because I will say this, for me, as a person who has been a part-time sports coach for like 6 years, it sometimes does feel more satisfying when you see someone who you coached get the proper result and outcome than if you win it yourself. And I feel like this could be an area that could definitely pop up. I will say this as a person who has been in the sports industry quite a bit since like 2016. I have seen how it's like be on both competing and on coaching side. It's definitely an opportunity. I feel like many people who really want to achieve something but feel like their skill is not there, but they know the theory but don't have the practice, let's just say like that, or the practical. Like I feel like being like as this person to assist for like some of the top regional teams could definitely be one of the be the hidden link in that sense.
I feel like we're at the point where like no one really has a coach, and I feel like I feel like every team needs a coach, but a different coach. Like every team like has maybe in regionals you can actually like you kind of need like all of the 3 aspects, but like in the top leagues, like everyone needs a coach, but they need something like different from the coach. Like some need the more analytical stuff, some need more the practice overseers, some need more the mental coaching, some need maybe multiple at the same time, but I feel like everyone needs it, and it will be, I think, very beneficial when the coach thing like gets going and people actually start using that role for their own profit.
Also, it's a bit of a cultural thing, I feel like, because, for example, in Western countries, seeing, oh, you have a coach, especially in esports, it's kind of, oh, lol, what kind of thing, what he does. But let's say in some other cultures, like, or like Eastern cultures, if you have like this higher up that kind of shows you the pathway, it's it kind of creates this higher performance, basically, from that kind of kid. And if you have like a person who actually does listen, so we kind of have to appreciate the Trackmania community is not just kids who just lol, what you're gonna do, I know how to play the game, old man, kind of thing. If they actually do listen up and because put like a wise person, let's just say, to help guide, and let's just say be that glue that helps things stick together and make a more stable base. And I feel like it's like you said, it can improve, like as Rookie also mentioned, that the level could immediately go up quite a bit, and we could like slowly go to the part where we might see the perfect matches happen more and more, where people do constantly top tier times every single round consistently, because they have the analytical side that makes the most efficient pick and ban. You have the mental coach who like puts the best mindset and everything like that. Then you have the side person who does the prep work with the training maps and everything like that. So, and the players are just there to play. And I feel like this could be, in theory, the best kind of structure for a World Tour type team that could make the most efficient outcome, in theory, of course. You gotta see how things actually do evolve practically, because there could be some interesting things that could pop up here and there as well. But we gotta see when that happens. But speaking of things that will happen, is that
many buts.
Yeah, but we're gonna see what's gonna be the things that be coming up. Is the next team of World Tour, and we're gonna have the next week of TMCL, next week of TMGL. But this is now gonna be a really interesting talking point. Is that we're now going to a new cycle of regionals. We basically had every region had at least one regional played. Now we're starting to enter the second cycle. We're gonna have the second MEA regional and the second NCSA regional. And one thing that we touched upon is, are we gonna see more teams taking part? Are we gonna see the same amount of teams, or gonna see less? Because the previous, let's say TMGLO, OGL, these kind of open structure events, every single time had the declining player count. Will this be the time when finally there's an upswing in terms of teams taking part? Because I already saw in MEA region there's like two more South African duos I saw. There could be some new teams popping up here and there as well. And I feel like kind of the same case for APAC as well. I saw some other players wanting to take part as well in the second regional who were kind of a bit iffy about the thing, because they had this TMGL kind of vibe at the back end. But we'll see. Do you think that we will see more teams taking part in the regionals, or will it stay the same, or will it decline?
EU will definitely have more, but we're not going to talk about them. For MEA and NCSA, I feel like MEA for sure. Especially since, as you said already, like some South African teams are interested as well, and I feel like there's definitely room for improvement. I feel like the regional one was for many people also to see what is going on, what is happening, and what they can expect from like the tournament. And so far, in overall, it's been a very positive experience. It's been fun to watch. There have been various casters doing it. There have been several players who have been playing, and it's been a fun experience. And I feel like it's been a very good introduction to like for a lot of people to regions that they have never watched before. Like when we had TMGL Open, how many of these MEA, APAC, or NCSA players you see? Only in Exotica really, and to some extent you had Pekali as well at the time, but at that you didn't have that.
They were kind of invited. They were kind of, it's not fully forcefully, but they were kind of, like a direct pathway show. But this is like
but you didn't really see this before. But now there's a certain time where you get to see MEA perform. You get to see what they have to offer, what are the best players for that region. and that feeds into All Stars that we already slightly touched upon. NCSA, what are the top dogs? Of course, you have Neil and Exotica, but you have like Tankram settings, and there
Also,
you have some other names
I
as
heard
well.
that
So.
there was gonna be an interesting new duo could potentially pop up for NCSA. I was actually trying to find a very interesting thing I wanted to mention is that I had been speaking with a lot of people from South African community, and there was a player who basically saw it. He was like, "Yo, we have like there's like dedicated thing for us," and he was just aware it when they saw it. And this was one of the things that even at the behind the scenes we kind of touched upon. Will be this the point where people, oh, see, this is like an opportunity for them, and then they will start joining like afterwards. There's a player Brontok who is like a really new player from South Africa, and he saw, okay, he wants to play like in the next one, and he'll be training and everything like that. And I just was like trying to find his name, like what was the guy, because I was aware of it, because he basically saw that he could like get be on stream. You have this minor publicity chance as well, especially in smaller scenes. So it a bit motivates slowly the depth of the scenes as well. I feel like it does, in my opinion, it will increase the team count, because it will spark this path of opportunity given, because you keep in mind the top 16 teams get at least one rotor point in regionals. In Europe, it's a bloodbath for them, but in for MEA, APAC, and a bit of NCSA as well, it's basically if you to take part, you get awarded for it, and if you get a deeper run, you get even more rewards. So I feel like this is a very good thing to see, and I really hope that it will happen actually, and we'll see the quality of the level of the regions now improve, and the depth of the regions. And would be awesome to see that, let's say, how MEA or APAC is, let's say, now, and you can kind of see the improvements happening, because these will be the same maps they'll play, so they'll have more time to prepare, practice, play on them. And I feel like at the time of All-Star or TMCL promo relegation term, which is kind of the minor for them, it's going to be really fun to see how all these regions pair up against each other, and some crazy upsets that will happen here and there. And I feel like these kind of major and minor, major the All-Star event, minor the TMCL promo relegation tournament, and World Championship at the end will kind of show and create these like regional rivalries as well, and then like create these interesting storylines. And everyone said like storylines regarding the identities previously, but I feel like that it will actually create like, oh, this, like, I started playing this because I saw, I don't know, Birdie play, and I saw like like, for example, for the first regional, there was a duo of Droga and Huba Bibi who literally played played the No Train the first regional or something like that. They even hadn't played some maps, but afterwards, after the first regional, they're actually prepared and everything like that, and now they really want to like take down Huso and Knight and yoink the TMCL promo relegation spot from them. So there's already like cool stuff popping up like this already. Will that happen or will not? Who will be take down the APAC, or will like the upcoming teams that I heard that might be forming? I heard something about some players returning for NCSA and forming duos. So we'll see, and if they take down, it's gonna be an interesting stuff. And since the regionals are so wide open and it to so many people, like there's gonna be some crazy stuff happening, not only for me and NCSA, but for APAC and especially Europe as well.
And remember, this is only stage 1. So we're gonna.
And it's the first. Literally, we're starting the next stage cycle.
It evolves as well. People will play more. It evolves. More teams will be involved. Then you go on to the next stage. You will have those same teams competing, and then there could be even more teams joining. So it just sheds more light on all of these players, and it gives them more opportunity to play more competitive, more time for them to actually show what they're capable of. And you never know. We could see some very interesting surprises. Of course, for now, the first regional you had pretty much expected results, but given as the stage 1 goes, then you go evolve into stage 2, all of that goes on, you can have a lot of things that could make this even more exciting than as SRK has alluded to, that even more exciting than TMGL and Challenger.
I personally, I find this regionals more interesting than TMCL.
You know what would make it way more exciting? If, for example, Buckley really practice
Oh,
slowdown.
God.
If he did it, that would be so exciting.
Oh, we are gonna have another incident, aren't we?
It's like the
If he
benchmark
practiced
team
slowdown.
seems like for that region now.
Long nights awaiting us, okay? Long nights awaiting.
But yeah, it's like very fun. Like you have these interesting, like if they didn't exist, like we weren't talking about this Buckley incident, for
Yeah.
example, in the first place, right? I would probably be like, what I liked about other esports or sports, I really like these these
Underdog.
underdog like situations, like when there's like let's just say, I don't know if you followed the League of Legends World Championship, but for example, when Japan takes games off China, or the LJL, or the LLA starts to like do something crazy, or TCL or
FPX.
something like that. Like if there's like these crazy underdog situations, and this is kind of the things that will pop up in Trackmania now. Like I mentioned a couple podcasts ago as well, that in Trackmania you have this unique ecosystem where you have TMGL as the partner league, which is kind of like the franchise systems in other games. Then you have TMCL, which is kind of the highest level closed league, so anyone who can qualify into. And then you have the open circuit part, and you literally have these three things. It's not like Div 1, Div 2, Div 3, because no one usually cares about Div 3. But since anyone can play in them, like a TMGL, TMCL team can in theory play. Actually, what's a funny thing that will happen since there's a proper global standings page on Wikipedia now, is that basically if a bottom or mid TMCL team does not play regionals, they can miss out on a world championship slot, basically. Wildcard slot, that is. They will kind of have to, take part in one or two of them at least and have a decent run to kind of show that they're up there. And I feel like when that happens, you'll say, yo, there's like this team lost to these like Frenchies or something like that. It's like, ain't no way, bro. It's like, there's going to be like these cool things happening with these upsets and things like I mean, I just like the system in theory. Like what kind of crazy things it brings compared to when it was just, we have just TMGL. Okay, bye. Next week, just TMGL. Okay, there's TMCL. Okay, nice. Yeah, sure. Okay. But now there's like this massive depth. There's like people now getting fans even, or more recognition for being the best players in their regions. It's like really dope. There's even also like orgs are now scouting even regional teams that we touched upon a couple episodes ago. And imagine like what happens. We memed around it as well, that a regional team beats Synergy. But imagine if the storylines, if that actually does happen, that would be crazy. Like
it would
be so hype as well.
Have
of
to
course,
get there first.
Yeah, the odds are giga low, but in theory, if something like that happens, you never see like a random team in League of Legends playing against an LEC team in any event. But here in Trackmania, it's possible with this new system, and I feel like there's gonna be some really cool things popping up with this.
Yeah, it definitely brings depth to the scene, and we just have to wait to see how it all develops and grows, and how many new teams we will see. It will definitely be interesting. It is the thing I like to say, because people might not really realize that, but we are in the infancy of Trackmania Esports at this moment, with this new system, with this new format, with the new structures and stuff like that. This is infancy period, and this is where we actually start to like think about the new things we can use, like the depth of the scene, the coaching system that might be already in place, the stuff that we can do that weren't there before. It is something new. It is something that has to be learned by the scene, and something that will grow, and I'm really excited to see where it will go.
Yeah, and this is probably the best part or best time to grab onto the opportunity as well, because in the regionals especially, like if you start now and you have success in your regions and it carries on to All Stars and possibly even World Cup, who knows? You are in the perfect position to take advantage of like you said, an infancy esports start. So I feel like at the moment, if you want to become if you want to make a name for yourself, this is probably the best time in any all across Trackmania that it's ever been to make a name for yourself. So that's probably the biggest excitement. We get to see some players we've never seen before, and the level of each region can only become better and better as time goes on. So it's gonna age like a fine wine, and that's where the excitement is, because
But
we've seen wild card events like League of Legends, wild card events. We've seen some crazy stuff even happen in those events as
Albus
well.
Nox, for example. If you, I don't know if you saw it,
Albus Nox
something
is
like
such
that.
a good example.
So yeah, I'm very looking forward to that.
Also, speaking of looking forward to that, there might be something really cool happening for one of the regional teams during this week. So keep an eye on it. I really hope it does happen. So eyes emoji regarding that. But
pause champs. SRK knows everything. We are all clueless.
I do like I should say, since I kind of do see the back end of things a bit, it kind of gives me this. Since most people are just like hopium, like they don't know. I kind of do see the bigger picture in that sense. But yeah, the main thing is that about the opportunity, there are so many opportunities. There's like orgs. They always say there's orgs scouting, looking at the game. There's like, there's coaching, there's opportunities. Let's say you're not that good as a player, but if you, let's say, help out this, I don't know, an APAC team to properly, get used to up to things, so to improve their consistency, you can literally be against them and you see, or with them, and you see, there's this guy who really helped them elevate the game, and he's like part of the team and everything like that. And you kind of get a name around. Like if you play just as a player, let's say, who is this random man, he got eliminated in round of 128, no one's gonna care. But if you help this one, let's say one or two teams out, elevate their game, maybe take some upsets here and there, you're gonna make a name of yourself. And some really cool things. Like the main thing with opportunities is this, that there's opportunities always and everywhere. It's just you have to be aware of them and what they are in the first place. And a lot of people, since, like we said, you're in the infancy, like many people still don't know what the word org means properly. People don't know what the word open circuit means, or minor, major. They don't know what these things mean. And when more people are aware of these things, what do they mean? What do they bring? And everything like that, then I will think that community slowly will, start to try to find their piece of the cake, let's just say like that. And I feel like so it's like a win-win situation at the end when people are more aware of such things. Then it can just grow the scene more and more and accelerate the process on top of that. And it's keep in mind, like I said multiple times, World Tour is not just a tournament on hard maps in a duo format. Like it's the main official circuits, and everything that has official, it's there's a lot of eyes on the game due to that. When a lot of people from third party, if they look at Trackmania Esports, they will look at World Tour. They're not gonna look at some random LAN or whatever. If you, I don't know, or some random team tournament, no one's gonna look at that from a third party point of view. Yeah, it's cool that you played in that, but in reality, like if you wanna have some name in the game, you like no one bats an eye on that in the business scene. Let's just say like that. It's like a good thing that you won it or something like that, but if you don't do official stuff, you're basically invisible to all of these opportunities that are around.
That is for sure, and definitely, especially with the limelight now on more players than ever before, that never could have had this chance to begin with. Our World Tour is definitely a big evolve in how we approach the growth of the esports, and if anything, this is probably the best decision I think has been made to this day to evolve the game to hopefully greater heights. Like we said, infancy period. But I feel like what we have already seen from our first impressions, it is a very promising sign for everything to come.
But
and there it goes.
Yeah, so a bit of a thing to actually set in what's gonna be actually happening during the week. So this Friday, there's gonna be the first Playday of the MEA regional. Then on Saturday, so Saturday is gonna be the 12-hour day. There's gonna be the Middle East and Africa, Turkey as well included, of course. The regional 2 concluding, then there's gonna be TMCL afterwards, and then NCSA day 1. So there's gonna be a very long day. It's gonna be it can potentially be 14 hours of Trackmania to watch during that whole day if you count everything properly. At least
At
it
least
was
you can
14
sleep on
hours.
Sunday morning.
Yeah, my sleep schedule is gonna be in the mud. But yeah, there's a lot of things to follow, especially starting this weekend. So you have to kind of see like how does the it's gonna be interesting to see how does the difference change from the first regional and the second one. Like, how many teams do we get? How many new faces show up? How many people? Because matchmaking is a seeding thing. I saw a bunch of new people playing matchmaking even more to improve their seeding, to improve their chances in the bracket, and we'll see how things will happen. Will like Birdie Chemco duo will they win their second regional? Will Nixotica Neil or Damascus win their second regional as well? Will the Tankrum Zetins beat them and upset them? Maybe some crazy new duo pops up and beats them. And some really interesting things to look forward to regarding regionals. TMCL and TMGL continues as it was, and it's gonna be exciting times and a lot of things to look forward to overall.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
That is indeed so. Looking forward to it. But, again, there won't be like kickweight sitting for Challenger or Grand League. It's gonna be Trackmania here. Okay, 1 hour pause, get a quick snack, maybe do something else. Then you have this Challenger, take a quick break. Then you have a Saturday evening watching NCSA as well. And then maybe you get some sleep in the morning to wake up just in time for Grand So yeah, that's gonna be great.
Yeah, so those are kind of the main things to look out for. Okay, maybe we can have a quick run through the predictions. So, who do you think will take the second MEA regional?
Birdie and Semco are gonna take the MEA.
Yeah, F10.
F10, okay. And who's second, probably, do you think? Will it be Molotov once again, or like I said...
hard to say.
I would bet on Molotov.
I think there's gonna be somebody else. I don't know who to specifically put in that position, but I feel like they have definitely they're gonna get competition for sure. Whether they will be able to uphold it last time is yet to be seen, of course. But I feel like it will be a bit more difficult this time for the Molotov boys to get into the final. Maybe
I do
Birdie
think
and
that
Semco as well.
F10 will, in my opinion, will win it. But I do think that Chamrun Inside will actually take second, but it's gonna be really close. And I would not be surprised if there's a team that takes down F10 or takes it to 7 games now, or 7 maps maybe even. We'll have to see how the format's looking like, because there's a good chance that they won't have double elimination if they have 9 or more teams, which can be a potential looking like. So there could be some crazy even bracket upsets as well happening. But yeah, so far looking that the F10 is gonna be as the favorite, at least coming into the next MEA regional. For Americas. Americas
Canadians.
Is...
I have money on the
I have Canadians as well. I have 100% Canadians as well.
I'm gonna be honest. They went 4 and went to a best of 7 until the 7th map, and it was again decided on Aero Pipes, the greatest map of all time. God damn it, that map is cursed. But either way, yeah, I think the Canadians, Tankrum and Zetins are definitely the team to look out for. Neil and Synexotic, of course, you have a safe bet. I have a feeling the Canadians, the Canadian power is there, and the maple syrup will lead them to victory.
The Canadian baguette.
I was going to actually also probably side with Canadians, but I want to be different. I'm gonna go Damascus.
Okay, I'm gonna be a crazy one. There's gonna be the
You're
other...
gonna be an air team enjoyer.
No. I'm gonna say this. There's not gonna be Damascus in the final, but instead there's gonna be a team that did not play the first regional, making either the final or even top 4. Because top 4 is pretty competitive as well in NCSA. There's Final Form, there's Air Green. There was the... Let me quickly check the brackets.
They had Final Form, yeah, but they got 4-0.
There was Air White, Halcyon Derby. The Halcyon Blue lineup also was looking pretty nice. But, we'll have to see. I feel like Man, please, Tankrom, don't say that. Otherwise, my bet is in the mud.
Feckley, yeah. We haven't seen Feckley, boy.
Not yet.
Not yet.
I mean, we'll see, yeah, what happens. I think NCSA currently is a region that we did say that Damascus looks as the favorite, but that region, the fight for the top 2 or the top 1 is closer than you think. So I think
Canadians
there's
definitely had a shot last time. So I definitely see them, for example, winning, but also probably new teams that show up can probably take it too.
Yeah, it seems like
Yeah,
that NCSA
phase one,
slowly has in theory 5 teams that in theory could win. But realistically, there's 3 teams that I think could win. But there's 5 teams that are I would say a tiny bit above the rest. But the gap is not that big between them. There was a team that was looking pretty good, but unfortunately didn't have the. Let's just say mainly because Air Green did not play enough matchmaking. They had a low seed and a pretty solid team basically got face off against them, and they got sent to lowers quite early, where they did not sadly go through the second day, which was Halcyon blue lineup, which was a bit of a shame, which was Random and Mitch, who looked pretty prepared. They were a bit better than some of the other top 8 teams who did manage to day 2, but we'll see if they can show themselves in this regional. But yeah, overall, I feel like both regions are looking exciting. I feel like MEA is starting to become top 3. Is going to probably be looking as the main fight on who is going to be the top 2 teams, which is going to make it interesting. Because Chamru Ninside, at least under the old team name, are actually looking pretty good. I don't know if you have looked at the matchmaking and the times and everything. They're starting to rival Molotov quite closely. So we'll have to see how everything develops. Anyway, it's pretty exciting times because the field is so wide open with all the opportunities. Love to see that. But yeah, then there's gonna be the TMCL, TMCL Playday number 3. So hopefully we don't discuss the pick and bans and opportunities of the openers and everything like that.
I mean, I will say this much: at least Grand League is more clear cut, but Challenger, there's not. It's hard to discuss picks and bans when any team could beat anybody. Like, we have no clue.
But this is the thing with this new system. This is the thing with the new system. You have these 2 parts of the match where you have the opener, which is the pick and ban phase, where you kind of lay off your groundwork, lay off how the match will be played, and then you have the actual, play the rounds kind of thing. So you have these 2 parts, and I feel like the team that wins both the pick and ban and then plays a decent game using this field that was planned out will be the one that comes out on top. And I feel like this was a thing that we were completely blindsided by the system of how important the map picks and bans are. Basically, if you take a W on the other team's pick early on, it can snowball so massively. Like, the mental domino effect is so strong, actually. And
BDS calling, they want your argument back. No, I mean it is noticeable though that especially when I look at the stats, it's especially high in Challenger. It was a lot higher than it was in TMGL, for example. Last Playday 4 especially showed where you had the big dominance, and it's been showing. Like Playday 3, you had a very mixed match for TMGL and own map win percentage. It was pretty much, overall it was 50-50 who won their own mapping. Playday 3 was the most competitive section, but when you look at then Playday 4, it was a whitewash. BDS won all of their map picks. KC won all of their map picks. Solary won all of their map picks. Even Big against KC won the two out of their 3 map picks. And even G1 half of their own map picks. So there was a big discrepancy. But when you look at Challenger, for example, then you have a bit of a fluctuation. But then again, you have a case where Homyotsun has 83% own map win percentage. So it does come into play. But Homyotsun won 2 out of the 3 map picks, but then Nomelops completely washed them on the rest. So there's definitely an emphasis on own map win, but We've seen, at least in TMGL, you you can pick your map, but you can get absolutely destroyed on it, and it has happened in Challenger as well.
What's the
So,
crazy
but it
thing
does
about
give you,
Challenger though, is that there
yeah, but
hasn't been a
Challenger, I
single
feel like it's
4-0 so far.
yeah, it's a bigger role in Challenger than it is in the Grand League, in my opinion, because how Grand League is so much closer, at least. But then again, you have like the likes of PAC, which is like, oh, you want to play a map? Sure, I'll just be faster than you. Literally.
All right,
like,
let's.
what's your argument?
Okay, let's wrap
Like,
up a
it's so
bit.
annoying.
Okay, let's jump to predictions a bit. So first matchup, I feel like this is gonna be one of the cooler matchups.
Oh no!
Sprout-
This will be a
Gonna
very
be-
cool matchup, but
Yeah,
it's
Sprout
so tough to
versus
say.
Orcs GP Numelops. It's really the team that surprised us with the pace and how they played the game last time around.
Consistency.
They were so more consistent, so much more clean in their performance. And they're facing off against current number 1 seed, Orcs GP Numelops. The team that we basically, most of the time, were kind of massively a bit underrating, actually. Like
underrated on the first Playday, but now I'm definitely not underrating them for sure.
on second Playday as
they're
well, like
definitely-
all of us went for Hamyutsun. On the first day as well, we all went for Schweinheim Racing as well, except for me, who went for them as well, for Orcs GP Numelops, that is. But yeah, so both of the teams that has surprised us the most and currently is leading the TMCL standings so far against the team that had the biggest improvement from the Playday 1 to Playday 2. So Sprouts or GP Numelops, who do you guys got?
What I want to say is, I think Numelops like overall look like one of the best teams, but Sprout on Sunday, Saturday. This weekend.
Saturday,
Saturday. Right now, with this improved form, they looked like the best team in the league.
And they have the best pace when we look at maps as well.
Yeah.
They are the only team from TMCL on median that are driving TMGL paces, basically, if we look at that, if we look to that extent.
So if we're getting the same Sprout that was advertised before this season started, like this was so hyped up, and we finally got it. If we get it next week, the same stuff, I think Sprout will take it. But it depends if we get the same Sprout.
I'm gonna go with Numelops still. As much as it's very hard to pick Sprout because I keep saying it every time. It's the same as you have with G1, the Gwen effect, and now you have the Sprout effect. Like, if Scrappy and Dexter show up, they're undefeatable. Because their pace is by far the best when we look at times overall and that sense. But Numelops have been consistent. And Homyotsun showed inconsistency on the first Playday. They showed even more so on the second, and Orcs Numelops punished them very severely for that. Sprout have inconsistency as an issue as well, so it's hard to say. Like, I lean slightly more towards Numelops, but again, it can be a Sprout win. I cannot deny it. It's so hard to call, but I'll stick with Numelops for now. But I'm gonna probably regret that choice anyway.
To be honest, I think the result of this match is heavily reliant on Complex, because I feel like when Numelops wins, it's Complex who wins. Because Panda is solid overall. Panda is pretty solid, but like pace-wise, like who wins the rounds, it's Complex. And on the maps that they win, he is the factor that they win, and on the maps that they lose, he is pretty much like the factor that they lose. Like that's what I mean. I think a lot relies on Complex, and if we get the same Sprout, I'm gonna go with Sprout. I'm gonna lock that in if it wasn't clear before. So we'll see.
Okay. And you, SRK?
I wanna see. I want to see Orcs GP Numelops take it, but I feel like Sprout will do. Like, my heart says Orcs GP Numelops, but brain says Sprout. kind of
Yeah,
thing.
it's a very hard thing to call.
Okay, let's do the good old coin toss. What does the good old coin toss say?
You're going with the coin toss tactic.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Okay, so
Does it to pay off?
it's so number is Orkship and Noble Ops. The other one is Sprouts, and it's
This is what this is what challengers.
it says Sprouts.
Yeah.
Sprouts. So it said
So he's
Sprouts.
going Sprouts. So I'm gonna be the Numelops carrier. This
I really
time.
want Orkship Noble Ops to win.
I need to
but-
go up against Marcel because if I agree or if we go the same way, I'm never gonna catch up to him. So this is now a case where I have to convince myself to go against Marcel and to get back into prediction game. So I'm sticking with Numelops. You get the Sprout. Fair enough.
Right, all right. Next match.
All right.
Next
so
match.
next match is Easy Dream versus Alternate Attacks. Despite alternate attacks, I felt like they didn't look as well as on first day. They were one of the teams that had a downgrade in their performance, in my opinion. And
Vosal was absolutely
Definitely Vosal.
missing.
actually, both teams had a downgrade in their performance.
Well, it was when
honestly.
we look at like the individual rankings that were provided by Magpie on Reddit. You see that Skandir and Feed overall were performing really good. It was Enner and Vosal who were struggling in their respective matches. So definitely they both have vulnerabilities. Vosal was really good on the first play day, and they played against Sprout, but then Sprout didn't have a good day. But then you have and then you don't know who wins again.
Yeah.
By the way, it's one thing to correct. It's alternate attacks and Easy Dream, so it's Coco and Workers. Duo. I think you
yeah.
misunderstood
He was talking
something
about
there.
the similar situation that Hominotsu and
Yeah,
Attacks were in
yeah, but it's
this
pretty
week.
much. But the Easy Dream was absolutely non-existent.
What
overall. Yeah.
what I'm thinking is that both in Alternate Attacks and Hominotsu, there was something that they just came into that day with like a weird energy, and that maybe they weren't feeling it that day. Something was off, and I think like what Alternate Attacks can do is just shake that loss off and just practice next week, get into the groove again, and I think will be back. And I think with what Easy is performing overall during the 2 playdays we've seen, Alternate Attacks is, I think, a clear favorite.
I would have to go with alternate attacks as
yeah.
well. Yeah, it's just the level difference at the moment is no more noticeable, and so far we saw a good performance by alternate attacks. We haven't really seen a really convincing. Of course, they won against Exalti, but come on, Exalti! Like they won against 4-1 against the team that should be at the bottom of the table with the BS Plus. So overall, I've seen more of alternate attacks what they can do than Easy Dream. So I have
same.
to go with
I will go with
attacks
alternate as well. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
just much more easier choice.
Okay, the next
one.
match. The next match. BS Plus competition. The team that hasn't won a single match so far, but was very close. But they lose to Exalti though, and lose to Easy Dream as well. Was as Creedy said, are looking as one of
Well,
the.
they lost to Homyotsun PS Plus, and they should have won against Exalti. But Exalti was absolutely saved by Mi4. If Mi4 wasn't there, they would have lost 4-0. It was because Link. I'm still mod checking. Where is Link this season, man? I told you this when we started TMCL. Where is Link? Where is he? Like it's I have no faith in Exalti, man. Mi4 is amazing. Is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot say any bad things about him. He's been outperforming. He has been driven to the same pace as the likes of Scrappy, Dexter, Complex, and Skandir and Feed, the best players in the league. Link is again at the bottom of the barrel. Do I say more?
What I'm thinking is like Link. I think he like pulled his weight on some maps, but like very like minority of them. Damn, that's mosquito. I think he pulled his weight on some maps, but Mi Quattro totally carried that game. Overall,
like
what
how-
I got from
Yeah, you continue.
what are
Yeah,
but it's
I like how
it's,
we have PS Plus and
yeah,
I'm
that's what
racing,
I want.
and we're just
That-
like exalting this new.
That's what I'm doing right now. I am making a transition. What I wanted to say about BS Plus is that they definitely looked better this week than they did last. Did you see? I don't know if you guys look at the Lava TM stats too, but that graph on, I think that was slowdown, and the median for day one for
Yeah.
BS Plus was like on the far right, and for day two it was like far left. It was insane, the difference. BS Plus definitely came in with a different energy, different practice, and they definitely showed better results. But overall, we've seen so many like big mistakes from Snow, for example, on some maps. Like we've seen like him going like plus 15 seconds on sometimes.
But will it be
is
enough for Schweineheim?
I think it will be. I think Ratchet looked amazing last against ATX. I think Barbos looked solid. I think what they're like presenting is good enough to beat BS Plus for sure. I am favoring them in this matchup.
Okay. Okay. Well, I have a dilemma because if I look at the individual rankings, guess which teams are next to each other? BS Plus and Schweineheim Racing. Their performance is pretty much on the par to each other. Barbos was in the same performance on individual rankings as Glast and Snow to Ratchet. Of course, they had different opponents, but this is based on their average pace, mistakes, crashes, success, and everything. So, and Schweineheim definitely took their chance when they beat an alternate attacks who wasn't there. I'm gonna say PS Plus. I'm gonna throw in the surprise pick. I am saying PS Plus will win against Schweinheim Racing because I want to see a volatile league. PS Plus winning would be an absolutely insane. And I'm gonna go with PS Plus for this one because I want to beat the guy that is in the VOD that is down there, this Marcel. And the statistics show that even in a close match and in all of that, they are on par. So it all comes down to...
I think I felt like there was a bit of Discord issue, it feels like. So I guess I'll do my prediction in the meanwhile then while they are probably planning to think of something. So probably what I will say while they try to join back, because Discord incident. But anyway, I was like looking at the stats while trying to figure out myself and to see what's the situation looking like. I don't know how my Discord died, but it died. But it is what it is. I'll probably reboot it soon, so no issues with there. But yeah, there's a funny situation there. I don't know how the Discord died, honestly. But yeah, anyway, the prediction from my end, since probably Marcel and Greedy can hear me while I'm trying to reboot the things, but should be fine, hopefully relatively soon. But yeah, so far it looks like that the BS Plus competition team, it doesn't... They're so equal. Like, they're both are like with sandwich. One is from the top, one of them is from the bottom. That hawk is really throwing me off. Yeah, they're very sandwiched. To kind of give basically what Greedy was saying, Barbos is currently, in the terms of performance, was number 8, Ratchet was 11, Glass was 9, and Snow was 10. So both of them were giga equal there. And I'll guess in case they won't be able to join back, then I'll probably make it so that we'll do probably a quick wrap up then, while since they're, have a bit of troubles joining in, since I'm trying to boot up the things while it's happening. Typical, Baltic issues, but it is what it is. But yeah, so far, since now they can't comment on my picks or can't take on the takes, maybe in the chat. So I'll quickly speedrun through these predictions and they will mold about it. I already know about that. I will say that Shrine actually does take it on that one. So keep an eye on that. Between XLT and Homyotsun, I do think that Homyotsun will take that one. They really hate that I speedrun through the results, so they'll really love this. And through TMGL, they're probably gonna pull all the stats and mold about it. So I'll just say like this. I don't know what happened. My Discord is just full dead, so it is what it is there. But yeah, in ITB against Big, I will actually say that Big, since they were looking way better than the last time around, could potentially beat ITB unless they have that mental coach kind of issue solved. Then between G1 and Sinners, probably I would say the G1 will take it because Sinners are, not looking that good, but they could improve with the previous rankings or with the, usuality of the maps. Between BDS and Lions, I do think a BDS will take it. And between Carmine Corp and Solary is just too OP. Now they can't do anything against me. Sorry, but yeah. But if I intentionally, pull them so they can't comment about that. But yeah, sadly it is. I actually don't know why we can't get back to the Discord dings bombs. I don't know what happened there. But yeah, so probably we'll do a wrap up then if everything, we can't rejoin back and everything like that. A bit ironic will be that one thing I can mention in case it won't be possible to rejoin, which doesn't seem like to be the case, is that for next week, if there won't be any issues like this once again, we will have that there will be a new guest instead of Marcel. There will be Kem, so she fixes the Discord things. But that will be, I think, a bit of a wrap up as well, because we originally planned for 2 hours, but we went a bit overboard. I think that showed why. And so if there was gonna be takes or predictions from Marcel or Creedy, they'll do it on Twitter, so you'll see like a graphic being made right there. Yeah, so I'll probably slowly wrap up because we were planning for 2 hours, went a bit overboard. But it is what it is, so a bit of monologue from my end at the end. And next week we will have a Creedy joining, and Kem as well will be joining for a podcast, so there's a good chance some people will actually see Kem in person for the first time. Well, we'll be discussing about some other things as well that are currently planned as well. So at least we managed to touch upon on most predictions and everything before the communication platform a bit went down. But yeah, either way, thank you everyone for watching and or listening. Make sure to give a follow on this channel as well. Also in the subscriptions or the subscribe on YouTube there as well, where the VODs and clips will be posted on the broadcast as well. So if you're aware, you can join the fast